Fraser from Dad's at Bournemouth, plus last season's eye-catching fullback Jamal Lewis from Norwich, Jeff Hendrick. But Dubravka is missing in goal. No real surprises with their opening day lineup. Darlow's in for Dubravka. Wilson is on starting at the top of the park in a 4-3-3 with Andy Carroll and St Maximin. Hendrick in the middle of the park, and Jamal Lewis comes in for his debut. Chris Perry, lovely to have you alongside me. What are you expecting? Simple question to start. What are you expecting from today's big game?
I think it's a difficult one to call. I think West Ham finished the season absolutely on fire, didn't they? Michael Antonio in particular, they looked like they'd found a formula to pick up results, and it looked as though David Moyes was doing an excellent job. So it's whether they can continue in that form or whether the break has actually killed them a little bit. I think Newcastle were desperate for the season to end. Interesting that they brought in Callum Wilson and left Joe Linton out. I think that says a lot about Joe Linton's future probably, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Andy Carroll against his old club, because if he's on it, he is unplayable at times.
Yeah, Andy Carroll has been a little bit of an enigmatic person, hasn't he? He only played 32% of the games for West Ham when he was there, but did bag a few goals. And certainly the last time I saw him at the back end of last season against Liverpool was throwing himself about. But I really got to start, I think it was called by Mr. Rennie, the bowl of depression down at the London Stadium. West Ham United seem to be in a little bit of turmoil. Both Wilshere and Noble coming out after Grady Diangana was sold. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they obviously, Mark Noble obviously thought Grady Diangana was a very promising young player and the sort of player that the club needs to keep hold of, really. You know, these homegrown players, being a homegrown player himself, Mark Noble, having played for just the one club, he's going to have more of a feeling about that, and I think he's just disappointed that he's seeing players that may go on and have a career like him at West Ham go and play somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a massive one. You know, Jack Wilshere was the other person that was quite vocal. He doesn't appear again, but I think Jack Wilshere's days maybe at West Ham are numbered, maybe just for himself. What do you think on the Jack Wilshere sort of situation? Always injured, terrific player, but do you reckon it's time for pastures new for him?
I think it looks that way, yeah. I think he just needs to go somewhere where he can play football. I think West Ham at the moment, the squad's quite strong. Is he going to be able to break into their team and cement a place? You doubt it, and with the amount of injuries that he does pick up, you know, does a Premier League club want to pay the amount of wages that he's on?
At some point somebody's going to maybe get a cut price Jack Wilshere.
I think a championship side, personally.
Yeah, every chance, but maybe he's got a little bit too much talent. If somebody can keep him fit and dry and ready to play and build a side around him, maybe there's a chance for him. We don't know. But let's look at this game. How big is it for West Ham? It's their first home game of the season, obviously, against a Newcastle United side. Their next 7 games are against the last season's top 8. You know, they really want to get off and running. You say they were on fire at the back end of last season. You know, they really do need to put some points on the board. Otherwise, life might be tough after about 8 games.
It's a very, very tough start, isn't it? This is a game that certainly you'd imagine David Moyes will have put down as we need to get off to a good start. We need to get a victory. As you mentioned, Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Spurs, Man City, Liverpool to come in the next 6 games. I mean, it doesn't get any easier, and they could easily go through those 6 games and pick up maybe 1 or 2 points. So this could be crucial.
Yeah, it could be. Just the one permanent signing, Thomas Souček, who was to be quarantined, is starting today. Let's quickly flip it over to the black and white. Steve Bruce has surprised many Geordies last season, steering Newcastle away, I should say, from troubled waters fairly easily. He's brought in quite a few, but uncertainty still lingers over the ownership at St James's Park. I've got to ask you, you're a player, you've been in changing rooms, you've had stuff going on above your head when you were in different clubs. Do you think that affects the players, or they just literally turn up, put the boots on, get over the white line?
I don't think the players could really influence anything that happens at boardroom level. I don't think they'll be that bothered. Their contracts are pretty good these days. They'll just be worried about being paid. If there's a takeover and it affects the management and maybe the amount of finances at a club, then it might affect them. But certainly at the moment, they won't be worried about that.
Yeah, the last question just before we move on swiftly. Good signings, Jeff Hendrick, Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, Jamal Lewis. And, you know, they've also brought a goalkeeper in, I believe, as well. So good signings. They've splashed some money, even though there's doubts.
Decent signings. Certainly makes the squad a little bit stronger, without a doubt. I like the signing of Callum Wilson. He can score goals at this level. He's certainly going to hopefully bring out the best in Joe Linton. And if Joe Linton doesn't perform, you've got Andy Carroll. They've got 3 decent strikers there if they can keep them all fit. And hopefully they can rotate those, and when they're in form, they start.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Perry joining me alongside. We're getting ready for West Ham United versus Newcastle United. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Evenings with James Whale on Talk Radio. Keep connected with round-the-clock news, essential information and expert insight.
I think we've got to be very careful about the way this has all been going on.
Cutting through the confusion with everything you need to stay safe, informed and entertained.
Everyone's going on about, we should be tracking and testing, and I just don't know how that is going to happen.
Evenings with James Whale. Weeknights from 7 on Talk Radio.
In a world of 24/7 global sportscasting and instant news infotainment, one man bestrides the airwaves like a snow-capped Caledonian colossus.
Hello, I'm Jim White.
Jim White, anchorman.
Mid-morning news team, assemble.
Jim White and Natalie Sawyer, the #1 rated news source for breaking sports stories, big-name guests, and liquid showbiz charisma.
Great Odin's Raven. That's quite a transfer.
There's nothing burgundy about Jim White. Tomorrow morning from 10 on TalkSport.
In the spring of the year 2020 AD, a deadly enemy rages like a torrent of fire between the ends of empire.
My name is Maximus Talks Sportus Pandemicus, gladiator of the sports radio. Gird up your loins and battle the invasion of COVID-19, because what you do today will echo in eternity.
Talk Sport Legion, assume tortoise formation against COVID-19.
Show this virus no mercy by keeping a distance of at least 2 meters at all times. That's 6.75 Roman feet centurions. Together, Legion, Talk Sportus can defeat it.
Talk Sportus Maximus.
On my signal, unleash hand sanitizer.
Keep it on, stay informed, and give coronavirus the red cardus.
Are you not hand sanitized?
20 years of Talk Sport.
Gentlemen, good evening.
There's no such thing as an overnight success.
Accrington Stanley 4, titanium plasmatronic death droids from the future, 0.
Excess.
I wasn't getting up, I was just getting in.
Excitement.
Excuse me,
and extremely strong opinions.
I spend my life covering the big game at the big level.
On DAB, medium wave, and on your smart speaker. 20 years of Talk Sport.
For all the latest news, opinions and advice, listen to Talk Radio throughout the day and stay informed as events unfold.
We're now in a position to start implementing the next part of our plan.
Find out what's happening now and what may happen next, all day, every day.
If the government gets to grips with the plan, then surely we will be able to see light at the end of the tunnel.
Listen now on DAB Digital Radio, online, via the Talk Radio app, or ask your smart speaker to play Talk Radio.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of West Ham United versus Newcastle United from the London Stadium. I'm your host, Andrew Self. Alongside me is the former Tottenham, Southampton and Wimbledon defender Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live. Now, this afternoon was something to talk about, something to savour, I would say. Crystal Palace versus Southampton locked horns at Sellers Park. Russell Hargreaves and Hogan Ephraim watched on. But there was a moment in it that I never thought I'd see until hell freezes over.
And interestingly, the referee is going over and reviewing his own decision on the monitor. This isn't just going down to West London to Stockley Park down the M4. This is being looked at in a conversation between the VAR and the referee himself. That's a change people desperately wanted to see. What are we going to see here? We've had the conversation. Referee Jonathan Moss has given the video look to say he has now looked at this. He's walking back. The red card is being rescinded and replaced by what we felt was better, a yellow card. That's fascinating. The right decision, I feel, and with the right process of the ref involved in the re-decision-making process via the monitor.
Well, I'm joined by Chris Perry. Chris, in your esteemed career, you played many games of football. How many times in your life did you try and change the referee's decision by talking to him? And here he is doing it himself.
I tried often, never happened, but obviously with VAR this season and the new directive for the referees to go and have a look, I think it makes complete sense, and I do think they got the right decision in the end. It's difficult when you see it at full speed. It can always look worse, and just to have that second look for the referee, I think he made the right decision. I think it was only a yellow, it wasn't a red card, and I'm really glad to see that come in this year after seeing it work so well in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, VAR is contentious to say the least. It kills emotion, it kills everything else, but you know, as my lovely lady wife of many years turns around and says, if it gets the right decision, it's got to be right. Do you think that's the actual simple way of putting it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you come to the right decision, I don't think players or fans or managers or anyone will mind. I think it's got to be the right decision. And I think the players will respect the fact that it's the referee on the pitch that's making that decision more, even if they feel it's the wrong decision. At least it's the referee that's getting a chance to look at it, not someone in a booth 30 miles away.
Well, this afternoon there were plenty of games going on. As we say, Southampton lost at Crystal Palace by 1-0. Wilfried Zaha scoring. We also saw Arsenal start the season really well at 12:30, beating Scott Parker's Fulham by 3-0. But just recently we had a game that when I grew up was a massive game. It was of the Premier League title, and quite frankly, this is what Tom Rennie, our commentator, had to say about the game.
A game 16 years in the waiting for Leeds United, and it was so close to being worth the wait. What a performance from Bielsa's men at Anfield. Not many will push Liverpool that close this season. Not many have done it for the last 3 years when Liverpool have been unbeaten at Anfield. But in the end, as it usually is, it's a game that went the way of Liverpool. Mo Salah with a hat-trick, 2 penalties, one early, one late. Decisive in the game, the Leeds record signing Rodrigo giving a penalty away in the 88th minute to see Salah score a hat-trick and give Liverpool the win. 3 times Liverpool led, Salah, Van Dijk and Salah again. 3 times Leeds pegged them back, Harrison, Bamford and Click in the second half. But in the end, the game goes Liverpool's way. But if Leeds needed more admirers, they picked them up today. They're going to be a joy to watch this season. Liverpool start their title defence, or as Jurgen Klopp might put it, their title attack. They start it with a win. They get 3 points.
Last season, Chris, Norwich City went to Anfield on the opening day of the season. They lost 4-1. Most people said that Norwich City shouldn't really get relegated. They looked as though they had enough about them to stay up. What do you think of Leeds United's performance today at Anfield?
I think it was an excellent performance. The way they played was refreshing. The way they really went to Anfield and had a go. The number of players they got in the box, the style of football, it was excellent. But you kind of expected that from Bielsa. I just wonder at home whether they can do that when teams will be a little bit more defensive against them, and whether they may need to change their tactics a little bit. But it was refreshing to see a side go to Anfield and just take Liverpool on toe-to-toe.
It's excellent work from Bielsa. He's certainly got legendary status with the Ellen Road faithful, and brought them up. They've shown that they can dip their toe in order. But how much is that with Liverpool? Because Liverpool never really came back. You know, just 3 points was it they needed in the return to the truncated season to get the title under their belts. And then maybe they showed some frailties. Shipping 3 goals at home, is there a problem for Jurgen Klopp?
Well, it's and it would certainly be a worry for Jurgen Klopp. I think it's always very difficult to retain your title. You know, you think get that 30 years of hurt off their back, and to go and the effort that's taken and the concentration to go and do it again is going to be a big ask of those players, and they haven't really strengthened the squad, and that's my worry for them.
Yeah, you can't stand still in football, can you? If you stand still, you go backwards is the phrase, and it's difficult, and we've seen it numerous times with many managers at the top of the tree, to almost improve on what was almost perfection.
It's extremely difficult, and you can understand why Jurgen Klopp isn't bringing in lots and lots of players. He wants to bring in the right players, but you just feel they need to freshen it up. And if they were to bring in a Thiago Alcantara, I think that could be a signing that would really add competition to that squad and really just add a little bit of class to that squad.
It is a terrific front three. We always talk about it. And the wing-backs in Alexander-Arnold and Robertson have provided so many assists. You look at where you can go. Van Dijk has got plaudits all over the place for his centre-half displays. But is there a link by the side of Van Dijk that maybe is going amiss? You being a centre-half yourself, do you look at somebody alongside him and think maybe that's where he could tidy things up? You talk about Alcantara. I'll get his name right, Thiago, I'll call him, easier. But you talk of him, but really, is that where the problems lay, if they get exposed through the centre?
I think they've always been looking, haven't they, for a long-term partner for Virgil van Dijk. Van Dijk is excellent, although I think actually he's been off a little bit and just been a little bit loose. Still doesn't look quite as concentrated as he has done. But I really like Gomez. I think he's an excellent defender. I actually just think we should praise Leeds. I think it was the way that Leeds played today. I think they caused them all sorts of problems with just the sheer number of players they get forward. Liverpool aren't used to seeing that when team comes to them. They're used to seeing teams sit back, try and defend, not allow any space in behind. Leeds weren't having any of that. We're going to go out and we're going to score more goals than you.
And you look at the early kickoff, Arsenal with Willian in tow, certainly starting their season in fine style, a 3-0 away win. They won the FA Cup, the Community Shield, just recently as well. So they seem to be a side under Mikel Arteta that is starting to get better. Chelsea under Frank Lampard were very good, impressive last season. People are going to get closer, aren't they? Manchester City certainly won't be as woeful as they were last season compared to the season before. So sides are going to get closer. So Liverpool, there's going to be quite a battle at the top. Are you interested by the top of the Premier League this year?
I am, and I think the one team you haven't mentioned who finished the season like an absolute train was Manchester United. With the signing of Bruno Fernandes, they came from nowhere to break into the top four, and if they can keep going to be really, really pushing Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea for those top four positions. And who knows in what order they're going to finish. But I think that probably will be the top four again.
Right. What I can ask you is quite simply, how many pre-seasons did you go through, Chris?
Around 20, I think it was.
And
too many.
Oh, yeah. Sporting a good tan, by the way. I've got to say, it's a lovely tan. Out in the garden. Right, can you tell me what it's like now? First game of the season, sat in the change rooms, exactly what you're feeling like
Excitement.
as a player.
You've been waiting, you've been working for 5 or 6 weeks, doing lots of running, stuff you don't enjoy doing, just to get to this moment, and it's a real release when you get out on that pitch. Usually you go out and you get the roar from the fans. You're not unfortunately going to have that today, but those players will be desperate to get the season underway, and obviously with it being a slightly foreshortened season, there's going to be games coming thick and fast, and that's what every
sit at home with the canned audience being fed through the speakers to make it sound like there's a game and take your eyes away from the empty.
Something that no player wants, but it's something that fortunately every player over the end of last season was able to get used to, so I don't think it's going to be any shock, but you need the fans in the stadium. It does lift you at times. It can change the tempo of a game. It can lift you. They can get on your back. The fans have such an important part to play in pretty much 99% of stadiums across the country.
They do indeed. Opening day of the season, these two sides really cannot buy a win at the start of the season. Manchester City disposed of West Ham United 5-0 last season here at the London Stadium. 4-0 the previous times, and 3-1 before that. Now I can tell you that Newcastle United also haven't fared as well on the opening days of the season either. They too have struggled, but they seem to have strengthened quite well over the summer, considering the uncertainty with their ownership. The two managers for today's game, David Moyes and Steve Bruce, tell us their thoughts ahead of today's game.
I think we were probably arguably one of the form teams at the end of last season. I'm looking to finish strong. I'm looking to start well. So if we can get a good start out of trouble, I think was incredible, and the way the players turned it around. But I think we're in a different mindset. We want to change that. We want to be looking to try and
the experienced top manager Moyes. So you know what to expect when we play against David Moyes' team. We know what's coming. And like every Premier League team, they've got good players. So it's always going to be a test. They've got some really decent players in their ranks. So we know what to expect. Let's hope we can go and perform. We did well against them last year. We took 4 points from the 2 games, and arguably had one of our best performances of the season down there. But I suppose that counts for nothing. We just got to expect a different game tomorrow.
The fixture list that we've been given at West Ham is a really difficult start. But it was a bit like that when I came in. I had an incredibly difficult start when I came in, and it wasn't easy winning the games. But we did go on to beat Chelsea. We had a good draw at Manchester United. I thought we played very well at Anfield, and we're a bit unlucky not to get something for the game at Anfield. So we'll try and go into the games and we'll try and win them this time, and we'll set ourselves out to try and make that happen like we did before. But I think I would agree with you when you said that we've got a very difficult opening run of fixtures.
It's important for any club that you want to get off and running. it's been difficult again. We're all finding it difficult. Life's difficult at the minute, but you know, to ask us with season starting, it's like, wow, unbelievable that we're getting ready for the start of a season. So it's been difficult, but let's hope we have a bit of luck along the way. We stay clear of injuries, which seems to have been a big problem for us, certainly in the last few weeks. We need a bit more luck in that department, but the 4 players we brought in can only add to the squad and make us better.
Steve Bruce there and David Moyes. Chris Perry is alongside me, the former Wimbledon, Southampton and Spurs defender. I've got to go back to David Moyes. He won 5 out of 19 Premier League games since returning to West Ham, 5 draws and 9 defeats. No major trophies won in his 22-year managerial career. I'm not asking you, I'm not putting your head on the block, but isn't it about time David Moyes really stood up to the plate and really showed the West Ham faithful what he can do with his side?
I don't think he was given a fair chance first time around. I thought he probably should have got the job. He did enough when he kept him up to get the job. He was unfortunate not to get it. This time, at least, they've given him an opportunity now to build on what he's done at the end of last season. He did really well at the end of last season. He kept them up. They really finished the season well. And now he's got a chance to build on it. He hasn't been able to bring in too many signings, unfortunately for him, so it's going to be difficult with the same squad. But he found the way of them playing, and he deserves his opportunity to go and show what they can do. West Ham would hope that they can push on towards the top 10.
Absolutely there. The voice there of Chris Perry, who joins me alongside. We are covering the West Ham United, Newcastle United games. More games coming tomorrow, thick and fast. West Bromwich Albion versus Leicester City, Tottenham Hotspur versus Everton, and don't forget on Monday there is Sheffield United versus Wolves and Brighton versus Chelsea. You can hear all those games here on TalkSport Live. Don't forget you can get involved with us on Twitter as well, at TalkSport Live. But for now, it is going to be settling down and looking at the West Ham United versus Newcastle game. Just moments away from kickoff down here. Team changes, couple of debuts for Newcastle United, and a very interesting 4-3-3, I believe, I would say. I'll ask Chris Perry about that when we come back in just a moment, if it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2. Either way, it's going to be a very attacking Newcastle United side who must be fancying their chances of coming down to a club that's slightly in a turmoil, one would say, down here at the London Stadium. But without ado, you're listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Impress lost tribespeople of the Andes by demonstrating the new updated TalkSport app. Listen live, listen again, and listen good, Buster. Download the app at TalkSport.com now. The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on TalkSport.
Hello, I'm Andy Goldstein, and of course you can hear me on the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy. We'll be taking all your calls, text, tweets and emails on all the big talking points from the weekend's football. And remember, we bring you the very first look at the next day's back page headlines every single night.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10
Left
on
side of our
TalkSport.
TalkSport.
Catch up and listen up without having to cough up. It's free. Go to TalkSport.com and download the app. Today.
Jeff Hendrick on the right, they've taken the kick.
Maximan. Holds the ball inside to Hayes. Hayden finds Shelby. Shelby through the hole finds Hendrick. Hendrick's first touch a little bit strong, but he's managed to come away from 2 or 3 tackles. And it goes back to Jamal Lewis in the centre of the West Ham half. Infield to Hayden. Lip of the centre circle on the West Ham side now to Shelby. Shelby straight ball into the feet there of Wilson, whose first time layoff almost puts Hendrick into problems, but he manages to stab the ball back to Shelby. Shelby out to Manquillo. Manquillo with a cross over the head and out on this left side now from St. Maximin, taking on Fredericks, dancing one way and then the other. He's into the box but going across the apex of the box. Good work by Jared Bowen. St. Maximin feeds it out to Lewis. Lewis first time crossing, flicked header at the near post by Wilson, goes wide. First real attempt, good ball in. Wilson got his head. A decent forehead to the ball, Chris.
Yeah, sustained pressure from Newcastle, wasn't it? Lovely ball in with his left foot from Jamal Lewis. Callum Wilson was already beyond the near post, so it was always going to be a difficult header. Tried to glance it off the side of his head and find the target, but it was well wide of Fabianski's goal in the end.
I didn't realise from this angle there until I saw, we're lucky we have replay monitors here, that he was actually in front of the front post by a good 6 or 7 yards. So he did well to actually find the side netting of the net there. Kick forward by Fabianski. Souček goes up with Hayden, comes off of Hayden. David Moyes retrieves the ball. And it's going to be a throw for West Ham. Fredericks throws it back to Diop. Diop just inside this right-hand touchline. Exchanges passes with Declan Rice, making his 100th appearance for West Ham United, and Andy Carroll making his 100th appearance for Newcastle United. So there's a couple of milestones for us.
Newcastle have definitely started the better of the two teams. West Ham having their first little bout of possession now.
Yep, down the line. Fredericks tries to clip it forward. Antonio, the solitary man up front. There's always a big problem when you play a solitary man. You've got to make sure that people get around them, otherwise it can find a terrible, lovely ball through here. Wilson's onto it, apex of the West Ham box. Over on Fabianski's left-hand side, clipped in, and coming at the back was Carroll, but cleared away for the first corner. It's a Diop does the work, but that was a very, very good break. Wilson showing great pace there, whipped the ball in across the face of the West Ham goal. Carroll coming off the back shoulder there of Diop, but Diop read the situation, put it behind for a corner. Good work there.
Yeah, it was simple though, wasn't it? From just one ball, it really put Callum Wilson through, but Andy Carroll didn't quite have the pace to keep up with him, and Callum Wilson was almost waiting for him to break into the box.
6-minute corner, Shelby. Fabianski looks out to his right-hand side, clipped into the near post, flicked head away off the near post by Fernandez, and it's gone away with a couple of kicks. But I tell you what, Fernandez got across his man really well there, and West Ham United conceded at home more goals last year than they have done since 1965-66. But Federico Fernandez got a free header.
Chris, static defending, wasn't it? He just made a run across the near post. No one went with him. Beats Fredericks to the ball, glances it towards goal. Fortunately for West Ham, it was straight at Fabianski.
Argentinian got himself right across there, and difficult for Fabianski because Hendrick was right in front of him. And
fortunate actually, Fabianski, because if it had been a little bit lower, Hendrick probably would have flicked it on, and it almost certainly would have ended up in the back of the net.
Yes, indeed. Fabianski takes the free kick that was given after there was a little infringement in the melee afterwards. Finds Rice. Rice now to Angelo Ogbonna, back to Rice. Rice 6 yards in from that left-hand touchline. Exchanges passes with Fornals, and then switches it across to Issa Diop. Diop, 18 yards shy of the halfway line, goes square out to his left-hand side to Ogbonna. Rice down the line into the feet. Fornals, back it goes into West Ham's half. They're just keeping the ball, trying to get their foot on it, a bit like a snooker player who likes a bit of cue in action, just trying to get the feel for it. Long ball forward to Antonio. Nothing he can really do there, though. And sometimes there's a problem with the man up front. If the ball into them, Chris, is aerial quite high, there's absolutely nothing they can do apart from hook it on or flick it on and hope somebody's supporting them.
Michael Antonio, what he really wants is the two Newcastle fullbacks to push on so there's space down the sides for him to run into. That's where his strength is.
Yeah, a little handball given there. Ball just bouncing up in the body of Miguel Antonio just inside the Newcastle penalty area. A loving glare given by Mr. Antonio to the referee, who I haven't given a name check. Stuart Atwell is the man here today refereeing proceedings alongside. He's helped out today by Mr. Konstantin Hatzidakis and Neil Davis. VAR, it's Peter Banks, and the fourth official is Darren England. But fairly easy as Darlow knocks his free kick long. Looking for Carroll. Carroll gets a better of Souček, who seems to be the man that's aligned in front of him every time the ball is knocked forward from Newcastle's half. Will that be a rule for Thomas Souček, who's a fairly sizable midfielder, in fairness?
I think when you're playing against Andy Carroll, what you don't want to do is leave your two centre-backs 1v1 against him, because he's going to win a number of flick-ons. So when they're playing two up front, it means that Callum Wilson is going to be 1v1 against Ogbonna if Carroll wins the header. So what they're doing is the two centre-backs are dropping off, and Souček is ending up marking Andy Carroll, so that if he does flick it on, they're 2v1 if Andy Carroll flicks the ball on.
Again, I've just seen a replay there of Fredericks, who went up with Andy Carroll, and again, Carroll was
leads with his elbow,
leads with his arm, doesn't he? His forearm. I think if he could just drop a couple of inches, he'll be into the shoulder of the person next to him instead of the nape of the neck. But I should imagine our referee, Stuart Atwell, has clocked that a couple of times as Diop now lifts this forward, looking for Antonio. Headed away by Hayden. And hooked away by Rice out the far side of Cresswell. Cresswell back to Rice, 6 yards inside it. the Newcastle half. Under pressure, a bit of a late challenge there by John Joe Shelby. A bit niggly. Bowen exchanges passes with Diop, and in the end, Isaac Hayden gets the ball to Jamal Lewis, who tries to get past Souček. Souček does well. Noble gets involved, Mr. West Ham himself, in fairness. And he plays it back to Ogbonna. Ogbonna out to Cresswell. Cresswell up to the halfway line. Fornals looking one way, looking the other way. Has to go back outside to that far touchline, and Cresswell holds it on. West Ham not breaking with any real purpose there, Chris.
West Ham haven't got a centre forward. Michael Antonio is at the moment playing wide on the left wing, and so players are looking forward for a focal point centrally, and there's just no one there.
Noble this time lifts it up, looking for the run on this near side of Fredericks. Checks it down inside Lewis. Lewis blocks the ball forward. Fernandez gets a toe in. Ball is still inside. Very interesting. The whistle's
Offside,
gone there.
I think offside. I think player was just coming back from an offside position.
There was a little bit of honesty from Fredericks there, because there was a bit of a foot went in from Federico Fernandez just as he went across the penalty area. He looked to a stumble but stayed on his feet.
Yeah, I think it was Fredericks who had actually come back from the offside position. I think he made the overlapping run and was just making his way back, but it was clumsy from Federico Fernandez.
Long ball there by Darlow. Again, it's towards Andy Carroll, who's well shepherded, to say the least. Souček heads the ball away. Ball's played forward again, and 18 yards inside the West Ham half. Big strong header away by Angelo Ogbonna. Gets the ball away for a throw to Newcastle United. Two sides testing each other out. You've already picked out that the one up front, which is Michael Antonio, if he makes one run, he needs people to fill the void behind him to give people an option, certainly West Ham an option going forward, whereas Newcastle United do have options, don't they? They have Carroll, they have Wilson, they've got some Maxman that can come from slightly deeper.
Absolutely, yeah, and they look comfortable with those options. They're going a little bit direct when they get possession.
Ball now to Antonio, playing left wing, holds up in front of Manquillo, rolls the ball back some 6 yards to Cresswell. Cresswell comes forward, a little flick with the boot out to that left touchline to Fornals, who cuts inside to the midway point of the Newcastle half before rolling it back to the oncoming Issa Diop. Diop out now to the right back Ryan Fredericks. Fredericks back to Diop. And again, you can retain possession all you like, but Newcastle United, as you can see, got their 11 men behind the ball there as Noble had the football, and they finally coughed up possession just on the halfway line, which is exactly what Steve Bruce will want from his side.
Yeah, they're defending deep, aren't they? They realise the threat of Michael Antonio in behind is a big one. So what they're doing, they're defending deep, and West Ham haven't got any options to play into Michael Antonio's feet because he's up there by himself, and there's those two banks of four in front of him that are making it very difficult to play into his feet.
Fernandez lifts the ball forward. Carroll heads it to Saint-Maximin, 6 yards inside the West Ham half. Plays it square across the park. Hendrick's first touch is a little bit poor. Allows Rice to feed it to Fornals. Fornals to Michael Antonio. He's got 4 black and white shirts around him, and 2 have a good swipe at him. And Mr. Atwell says that is an infringement of Football Association rules and gives a free kick. And in fact, Hayden gets the first yellow card of the season.
Yeah, that type of game suits West Ham. You know, it was the first time that Newcastle have been sloppy in possession in the attacking half of the pitch, and it allowed Michael Antonio some space to get on the turn and drive at people, and that's when he's a real threat. And it was just the two, Hayden and Lascelles, both coming in from both sides of Michael Antonio. One got the ball, but the other one got Michael Antonio. Isaac Hayden picks up the yellow card.
There we are. It should be. It's got all the makings of an intriguing match.
I think it needs a goal. I think this game needs a goal.
I think you're right, and I think that will open up things. If it went the way of the Magpies, I think that that would sort of put a lot of pressure on West Ham United to get back into it. The perfect away game. Free kick's going to be lifted into the Newcastle box. Headed by Antonio, hits the crossbar. It's not actually Antonio. Apologies, Angelo Ogbonna clattered that header in from 12 yards, and it's gone onto the top of Darlow's bar and away. And again, both sides showing frailties at the moment regarding sort of defensive set pieces.
Well, Angelo Ogbonna is in between Andy Carroll and Jamal Lascelles, and there's very little pace on the ball, and he generates such power with the header that it beats Darlow, and fortunate to see it come off the top of the crossbar and go over.
Lovely delivery there, really, because to pick out one in between such giants was really good, although Angelo Ogbonna is a sizable man himself. Darlow on the right side of his 6-yard box, up to Carroll. Carroll flicks it on. Easy for Cresswell to volley it back to the halfway line, where Carroll, at the end of his run, gets it to Hayden. Hayden gets it out now to Saint-Maximin, who's got 3 around him. Ball breaks nicely back for Jamal Lewis. In the end, Noble's caught in possession right on the halfway line and then has a veritable tug of the shirt of Alain Saint-Maximin. And always nice to see a player, after pulling the shirt off another player, point at the ball instead of have the ball.
Mark Noble had a hold of Saint-Maximin's shirt there all the time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he still had the gall to say that he got the ball.
Well, you got to try. You got to try. Everybody loves a try. Thomas Soucek's just having a quick word, see if he can get a John Moss sort of return of the verdict, but nothing's going to happen. It was indeed a foul. Shelby will spot this up no more than 3 yards inside the West Ham half, and as Fabianski looks at his goal away to my left, it's just slightly to the right of centre. Lifted out towards Ogbonna and Carroll. Ogbonna heads the ball away. Fornals now sprinting away, chased and gained on, in fairness, by Andy Carroll. And Michael Antonio's done really well there, but now it's back in possession of Newcastle United. Nice ball from Carroll through to the apex of the West Ham box, now to Wilson. Wilson turns to take on Diop, plays it back towards the penalty spot, cleared by Ryan Fredericks. Very simple, straight balls through there, Chris.
Yeah, well, Andy Carroll had left a lot of space for Callum Wilson to get him behind, but down the side of Ogbonna has been a real outlet for Newcastle so far. Twice now he's got Ogbonna 1v1 and looked like he's got the beating of him.
Indeed. Cresswell plays it into Rice. Rice 3 yards inside his own half. Clips it in, but Saint-Maximin reads the ball. He's over the halfway line. He's driving forward. He's got Wilson curving his run out to the left-hand side. Maximin going through the centre. Rolls it back to Carroll, who finds himself in the centre of the West Ham half. Hayden to Shelby. Shelby out now to Manquillo. Manquillo 25, 30 yards away from the dead ball line of West Ham United. Short pass there to Hendrick. Hendrick rolls it back. Could be a first-time delivery by Shelby. It is. It's not caught nicely under the foot of Wilson and cleared by the West Ham rear guard. But it's going to be Newcastle to proffer and get back on the ball. Hendrick spreads the ball in. Wilson cushions it down to Carroll. Carroll on the edge of the box. One-touch turn, spin shot blocked by Diop. And Soucek comes out and gets caught by the man who's already on a yellow. He's got to dance carefully, hasn't he?
Yeah, I would say he's one more foul away. I mean, that was a silly challenge to get into. He was late. I mean, nothing cynical in it, but he just has to be really careful now, Isaac Hayden.
Well, he's got the yellow, hasn't he? It's early in the game. You're a competitive midfielder and you're on a yellow in 16 minutes.
He's experienced enough to manage himself through it, but I mean, that was a clumsy challenge.
Yeah, but you've played this game.
I think that would have been a yellow. Had he not had a yellow card, that would have been a yellow. Yeah, I think the referee would give him a little bit of leeway, but the next one like that, he's going to be in big trouble.
He is indeed, and that will leave Steve Bruce with a little bit. He has Sean Longstaff on the bench that could possibly swap it around, but you don't want to substitute one of your first choices for the worry of a second yellow. I don't know. It's a difficult one to talk about. It's only the first game of the season. Anyway, West Ham on the football, and it's rolled all the way back to Fabianski, who comes outside of his penalty area. Short pass now to Ogbonna. Ogbonna, dead centre of his own half, looking slightly to the left. Stops, checks, rolls it to the feet of Noble on the lip of the centre circle on the own side of his pitch. Plays it out now to Diop. Diop up to the halfway line. Short ball into. It's difficult openings for West Ham in front.
They just can't find any spaces to play in between Newcastle. They've got a really good two banks of four, Newcastle, with the two centre forwards dropping deep in front of them, and there's just nowhere for West Ham to play.
Is this, Antonio can pull into the channels, he can try and run round the corners, but isn't this down to Bowen and Fornals to be doing a little bit more alongside Antonio to give those midfielders an option?
It is. I think Newcastle have got their tactics spot on. I think what Michael Antonio loves is teams that play a really high line and it leaves him space to run in behind.
Yeah.
And Newcastle are certainly not doing that. They're sitting with two banks of four. I think they've surprised probably West Ham, the fact that they're playing a 4-4-2. I think West Ham are probably set up because their last 2 or 3 games of last season, they were a 4-2-3-1, exactly the same as West Ham. I would imagine that they've worked on a 4-2-3-1 all week. This is where we're going to find space. And suddenly it all changes. And now it's up to the players to discover where that space is and to find the right pass. And it's difficult sometimes. But it's the sort of thing you can adjust at half-time, but it's going to be difficult for West Ham up until then.
Well, we just had a little break there when Saint-Maximin was dumped on his derriere there by Ryan Fredericks, who, in fairness, I think has done well to escape without a yellow card.
Yeah, it was a poor challenge, wasn't it?
It was a poor challenge, yeah. Nice feed by Saint-Maximin. Danced over the ball several times before taking him on, and a little bit lively, one would say, but The referee today, Stuart Atwell, kept his cards in his pocket, and we don't want to see cards brandished too much, but consistency is the line, isn't it, Christopher, when it comes down to refereeing?
Absolutely. Christopher.
Oh, well, you called me Andrew.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Sorry.
We're even. My nan's the only one calls me Christopher.
It's one apiece in the first name stakes down here. Anyway, West Ham come away with it, and it's Diop 12 yards outside his penalty area. He goes square to Ogbonna. Ogbonna just gallops forward. Carroll comes across. Ogbonna slips it through into the chest of Antonio, who tries to get the ball away. Newcastle are appealing several times for the handball on Michael Antonio. Atwell gives it, but it took a long time for the referee to actually decipher if that was actually handball.
He had a long think about that one, didn't he?
He did. It was almost one of those that really annoy you when I played lower level football, that you think the referee's just been persuaded by the appeal. Yeah.
Whoever shouts loudest gets it. One of those ones. Yeah.
There we go. Back it goes to Darlow. Darlow sweeps the ball forward. Bonner's under the ball from Carroll. Diop gets a little bit on it. Souček lifts it back from midway inside his own half to Fabianski, who has to deal with the bouncing ball. Fabianski volleys it high. Souček heads it on. Picked up this time by Hayden. Hayden finds Shelby. Shelby comes at Saint-Maximin. Saint-Maximin now. Lays it outside. Jamal Lewis, left back. Ball in. Gets in there. Wilson this time across the front. A little bit wide of that first post. He puts it wide of Fabianski's goal again. It was a good break again. It's come from Saint-Maximin and Jamal Lewis down the left again, Chris.
Yeah, it was a lovely ball from Jamal Lewis. He picked out the run of Callum Wilson's. West Ham's defender had all dropped off along the 6-yard box, and Callum Wilson just dropped a couple of yards off them. Ogbonna followed him in there, but Wilson was first to the ball, and it's a good opportunity on his weaker left foot, but he should really have hit the target.
What you can say about Callum Wilson is he knows how to cut across his man, doesn't he? Delays his run, gets across his man at the front post.
His movement's very, very good. He just needs to work on his finishing.
Yep, he had a tough season, as most people did with Bournemouth and Eddie Howe last season, but back in the Premier League, where he'll feel he belongs. Come up with his good friend Ryan Fraser, who's on the bench. Of course, Matt Ritchie, former Bournemouth player, up here as well. So let's hope the Bournemouth trend doesn't follow the Magpies in that respect. Federico Fernandez with a free kick for Newcastle, midway inside his own half, goes long towards Wilson, headed away by Diop. Souček just gets a little bit on the ball, but has fouled Mullins in trying to claim the ball. Atwell gives the free kick. It's to use a footballing cliche, Chris, that's one of them. I think that could have gone either way.
I think Hayden just beats him to it, and he catches Hayden on the knee. He's unfortunate because he's committed to the challenge already.
Yeah. Seeing it again, he's sort of reading the ball dropping another few inches when he's playing his boot, and he catches Hayden across the shin. Free kick now. Fabianski looks out of his goal. It's just to the right of centre. So if the penalty spot and centre spot at 12 o'clock, this is about 10 past the hour. Shelby
loves scoring against West Ham too, doesn't he?
He does. One of his favourite sides. Shelby walls 19 yards out, drives it in. Fabianski gets the looping ball from the deflection off the wall. Claims it. We're midway through the first half here at London Stadium. Andrew Self here with former Tottenham, Southampton and Wimbledon defender Chris Perry analysing the action. Goal is here at the London Stadium. Don't forget you can tweet us at Talk Sport Live as well. Got any questions for Chris Perry, please pose them. And for me, seeing as I never played professional football, if you've got any homework questions, I will answer those as well at Talk Sport Live. West Ham have the football, and Diop square bisects the centre circle on the West Ham side to Ogbonna. Ogbonna gallops forward some 12 yards before turning it out to his left to Cresswell. Cresswell down the line trying to find Antonio. Cut out by Hendrick. Hendrick finds Wilson. Wilson's short ball infield to Saint-Maximin, who drives towards the halfway line, but there's no black and white shirts overlapping, but he's managed to hold it and twist away from 3 West Ham United players and find Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis, left back down the line to Saint-Maximin, who continued his run. He holds it up, faced now by Bowen and Noble. Rolls it back now to Hayden. Hayden to John Joe Shelby, who opens his body out and looks on the right-hand side and finds Javier Manquillo. Level the 18-yard box. Loop ball in. Headed away this time by Ogbonna for the second corner for Newcastle United. And that little deflection always poses problems. As a centre-half yourself, you don't like those, do you?
No, you're set up for the initial cross, and then the deflection comes, and you're just hoping it doesn't fall nicely onto a Newcastle head, but Ogbonna attacked it really well at the near post. Put it behind for a corner.
Some height. Fernandez, Lascelles, Carroll all coming in. And West Ham United, their defensive record at the London Stadium hasn't been great. Shelby now. Fabianski looks out to his left. Drilled towards penalty spot. It's going to be Carroll that goes up, gets enough on it, but sort of heads it somewhat on the way down. And therefore headed the bottom side of the ball and it looped over the crossbar.
It's definitely something they've worked on in training. Jamal Lascelles just blocks Michael Antonio so he can't come and mark Andy Carroll. Gives him a free header, but he's 12, 13 yards out. It's always going to be difficult to score from there.
The timing of we just heard in a previous game, the commentary team of Sean Derry and Tom Rennie talking about this new Premier League ball swerving and dipping everywhere. That was more drilled there by John Joe Shelby as opposed to sort of a knuckle corner or an instep corner in, so didn't sort of move too much, but Carroll just got himself under it. Ball goes forward. Newcastle United get the ball off Antonio, who at the moment I just feel is cutting a very lone furrow.
He's frustrated. You can see the frustration in his body language at the moment. Throwing his arms up in the air when he's just giving away possession. Feels that the referee should be giving him a few more free kicks, I think.
Very difficult. He can do all the work he wants, and even if he does get one into his body and holds it up, he's got to have support. Manquillo, though, crosses it to the edge of the box. Carroll gets it down on the chest. Lovely back heel. Finds St. Maximin inside the West Ham box. Cuts one way. He's got Ryan Fredericks dancing well, but one touch too many allows Fredericks to take the loose ball and then clear it for West Ham United. Newcastle United on balance looking more threatening, would you say, Chris?
Oh, yeah, they've been by far the better team. West Ham have offered nothing going forward at all. Newcastle have dominated possession, dominated territory, and had the best couple of half chances in the game.
Shelby finds Hayden. Hayden rolls the ball into the feet of Wilson. Wilson spins away, midway inside. Little short pass now to Hayden. Hayden will now play it at St. Maximin. St. Maximin level the 18-yard box of West Ham United. Overlap or underlap, should I say, comes from Lewis. He gets across in blocked by Bowen. Ball spins nicely to St. Maximin, he's got feet that are dancing everywhere at the moment. He's cutting inside and going across the face of the West Ham United penalty area. He tries to play it out on the far side. Manquillo may get there. He's hooked it back in. West Ham United defending resolutely, but not with real coordination, as Carroll now has a little bit of dancing feet but loses out. Second ball picked up by Shelby. Shelby to Lewis. You fancy Newcastle, fancy that there's 3 points up for grabs from them today, don't you?
They look very confident. West Ham just haven't found their rhythm yet.
Well, Fernandez now cutting past one, cutting past two, gets past Fornells, but he's lost out now. Thought he was fouled. Now Antonio does have a bit of space now. Down the left-hand side, drives towards the penalty area. Taking on Fernandez, gets a shot in, down goes Darlow. First save of real note to be made. It was the man, Michael Antonio, that drilled it in. Darlow smothered it nicely, but it's Antonio or nothing at the moment for West Ham.
And that's the danger that Newcastle have to be wary of. If they give away possession cheaply in the attacking half, they're going to leave themselves open to the counter-attack, and that's what Michael Antonio thrives on.
Bowie on the ball now inside the Newcastle half, being shepherded well. Ball comes back to Mark Noble. Fredericks. Now it goes back to Diop. Diop square, 6 yards inside his own half to Ogbonna. Ogbonna's got Cresswell 12 yards forward, out on that left touchline. He's looking for a ball inside. In the end, he rolls it down the line to Antonio. Antonio being shackled there by Manquillo. Ball goes out of play. Decision to be made. It's going to be a West Ham ball. Cresswell will come forward. But that was just the fillip, really, West Ham United needed. That stick with the game plan, even though it's tough. But if Antonio can spin and find some space, he's going to be there. Possibly get out of danger, get out of jail free card. Rice drives forward now with the ball. Little short pass to Souček. Midway inside the Newcastle half. Out to the right back, Fredericks. Fredericks now to deliver. Curls a deep one in. Up goes Souček. Oh, just wide of Darlow's right post. That was an excellent cross. And when it came down to it for a minute, I thought that was going to nestle in the back of the net. The big check got there. Good effort, Chris.
Well, you said, when I said I thought St. Maximin would play wide on the left, you said, I'm not sure he can do it defensively. He was really poor defensively there. Just gave Ryan Fredericks so much time to pick out that cross. And Souček is excellent in the air and timing those runs into the box. 3 goals last season in only 13 games. Such a threat when he arrives like that.
He arrived late and he got himself on the header. In fact, he may be, when you see it back, he may be a little bit disappointed he didn't actually hit the target. Ball goes forward. West Ham United player down holding his shin, but it's excellent defensive work in the end by Diop to get the ball away from Wilson. Noble will roll it back to Fabianski.
Bonner's still down. I think he maybe ends up clearing the ball, but hits the studs of Newcastle player.
Difficult one, isn't it? You go through with it and somebody tries to block and you catch the shin bone on some studs. We've all been there. It's all hurt, and they do wear their shin guards very, very high nowadays. Let's have a little look. Ooh, Hendrick.
Catches Hendricks,
Yeah.
but it's accidental, isn't it? Hendricks just got his eyes on the ball, and it's a painful one nevertheless.
Yeah, it's a full-blooded couple of studs across the upper arches of the foot there. Kevin Nolan and David Moyes just shown on our monitor here, having a little look back. Kevin Nolan's just raised his elbow. I wonder if they're talking about Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both thought the same.
Well, they'll know him. Kevin Nolan particularly, I think, knows Andy Carroll better than anyone.
He had a spelling management as well, didn't he,
Yeah.
Kevin Nolan? And did well at Leyton Orient, if I remember rightly. Ball goes back to Rice. Rice just inside his own half. Finds Soucek. Soucek square to Issa Diop. 6 yards inside his own half for West Ham United. 30 minutes. Still goalless here. Andrew Selfie, commentator at Selfie86. And, of course, we've got Chris Perry alongside me, the former Southampton. Oh, good work here by Bowen's got into the box. Rolls it back. Penalty spot. Antonio rolls it back to Soucek. 20 yards out. Drills a shot in. Blocked by the legs of Lascelles. West Ham United trying to feed forward. Rice with a loose touch, and now Wilson on the sprint the other way. We'll come back to this in just a moment. Wilson and Carroll versus Diop and Ogbono. Wilson to Shelby. Shelby 17 yards out. Hits the side netting with a rasping right foot shot. What a break. That was quick. Declan Rice making a mistake in a very dear in-all area.
It's really sloppy on the edge of the box with Declan Rice. I thought he was terrible for England, if I'm honest, over the 2 games. He looked as though he wasn't fit, and he certainly wasn't catching John Joe Shelby getting back in there. Good play from Callum Wilson. Sucks all the defenders in, slides it to his right-hand side. Shelby's just waiting for the ball a little bit. The angle's against him. He cuts across it. Ends up coming off the outside of his right foot and is always bending away from goal into the side netting.
Yeah.
But a really good opportunity for Newcastle.
Yeah, exactly what I thought, and you read it absolutely perfectly. Just not enough legs on the ball. A little bit more pace. Shelby gets more time to get his foot through it, and instead of rushing the shot. But Declan Rice there. You say what you feel, Chris. Don't sit on the fence when it comes down to Declan Rice's performance for England.
I thought he was awful.
Well, he's a young man. He's a young man making his way, and he's got a big future, a bright future in the game.
I thought Calvin Phillips completely outshone him.
Yeah.
Chance.
Brilliant work here by Carroll. If that goes in, that would be one of the goals of many seasons, not just this season on the opening day. He's chested it down from a straight ball up to the edge of the box. It's Shelby from the halfway line. Carroll chests it down as it clears Diop. He then hooks it past Ogbono, 17 yards out. It's actually deflected over.
It's blocked it off Ogbono, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. The touch on his chest, the touch to lift it over, and it's really good defending, actually, from Angelo Ogbono to get the final block.
It was a terrific block by Ogbono, because I tell you what, Andy Carroll then shows you why so much money has been invested in.
He's a real talent. It's just a pity he can't keep himself fit for longer.
I'm pretty sure, I've got to say this, I'd have to check my facts. Sam Allardyce said, I just wish he'd loved the game more. He said he's such a talented footballer. Anyway, ball goes in from Shelby, near post, headed up in the air by Soucek, who will win his second header to get the ball away. But good work there, this time by Fornells to find Bowen. Bowen's got space. It's a 3-on-2 here. Bowen now down this right-hand side, cuts inside Lewis, who's got back. Impetus has gone out of the attack. Rice now, 35 yards out, finds Antonio inside the box, faced by Hendrick. Drills a shot against his legs. Just lost tempo in the middle of that attack, didn't they?
Yeah, actually, I think Jamal Lewis might end up getting a yellow card. He just broke up the attack, didn't he? Just caught Jared Bowen, that slowed everything down.
Impetus all went there. It looked as though if they'd have just shifted the ball across from Newcastle's left infield a little bit quicker, you fancied West Ham might have found themselves with a bit more space. But Bowen on the spin again, receives the ball, plays it into the feet of Soucek, who's forward, out to Fredericks. Fredericks, poor ball in, it somehow gets there and it's rattled against the crossbar. Lascelles missed it. Fornells drills it against the crossbar this time. They've hit the woodwork again.
He thinks it's handball here, Pablo Fornells. I'm not sure whether I saw that. It almost looked like it just hit his knee rather than actually him making contact with the ball.
It wasn't a great cross. It sort of bounced and
fumbled
fumbled its way through, didn't it?
Terrible cross from Fredericks, if I'm honest. I think they're looking at it, aren't they?
They are indeed having a little look now to see if there's hands. Usually when a player contests a decision so vehemently, there often is an insight to it. We're now going to get a second look, but Soucek had got himself forward. Fredericks' cross is awful. Bounces over to Lascelles. And I think that is going to be wafer thin finger's edge. If it does indeed touch the fingers.
No, you can't give that. No chance. In fact, it would have helped it come down onto the target because it hit him on the underside of the arm, didn't it? So
it did indeed. But I know one West Ham United fan would say, no, you can't change the rule if it's hit the arm underneath the shirt sleeve. That's a penalty.
No.
Drive safely,
Not
Tom.
for me.
Yeah. Well, I always think I've always had this problem with proximity to the ball. That sort of corner first for West Ham, though. Noble swings it in.
Chance.
Oh, well. Carroll's got his tiddly top knot on that. He's gone away for another corner on the other side. He didn't get enough on it, but with that aerial presence, he's managed to get it away.
It's a crucial intervention, actually, from Andy Carroll. Souček was just behind him, thinking his eyes were lit up there. He was thinking, I'm going to head this at a free goal.
He's looking, this game is just so finely poised. Even though it's been possibly territorially and possession-wise and threat-wise, Newcastle United, Bowen to deliver this time. Curls it in. Shelvey this time gets his shaven head on it, gets it away. St. Maximin hooks it back towards the halfway line. Fornals put it away. That's a terrible ball. St. Maximin carries on his run. He gets away from Fredericks. Fredericks eases him away, though, to one side, inside the penalty area. Squared to Wilson. Wilson with a chance of a debut goal. Back to goal, though, being twisted and turns away from Cresswell and indeed Fornals, who got back. Manquillo lifts it back in. He's going to break on this near side just as Carroll was going to dive and head in. Shelby tries the acrobatic and always takes his eyebrows off. Well, Chris, that was all happening very, very quick, wasn't it?
Newcastle will be wondering how they haven't scored. It's great pace from Ryan Fredericks to get himself back goal side of St. Maximin when he looked like he was clean through.
Superb.
And then John Joe Shelby takes the ball off of
the eyebrows.
Andy Carroll's head. Yeah, absolutely. Andy Carroll was launching himself for a diving header towards goal.
That's a foul and a high kick if it's the other way around. Anyway, it's going to be Newcastle's corner. Shelby lifts it in. Target is right at the back post, but it's headed away by Cresswell. Newcastle United with Hendrick will feed the ball back a long way. That was a terrible mistake, though, by Fornals that put Fredericks under a lot of pressure, trying to turn the ball back to the keeper. Somehow Andy Carroll's got that ball down. He looked offside.
Offside to me,
He looked offside to me as well. Inside it goes to Hayden. Hayden now out to Federico Fernandez, who's going to cross this deep one in. Fabianski claims safely above his head. I'm quite enjoying
It's a good game. I think it's a really good game.
Yeah.
It's intriguing. Both sides have had opportunities.
Only the one on target out of 13. 6 for West Ham, 1 on target. Newcastle 7, none on target. You just know that one goal, as you said earlier on, is like the key to the lock.
Yeah, absolutely. Could be crucial. It could be the winner. You've already said 13 attempts, only 1 on target. One goal here could be so big.
West Ham United have hit the woodwork twice now as they come forward. Diop raking ball up towards Antonio. Antonio beaten in the air, though, by Manquillo. Hendricks will just hook it up to the halfway line into the chest of Carroll. Superb touch and spin away from Ogbonna, but good work by Noble getting the toe in just as Carroll stretched to try and pass the ball. He gets it back to Fabianski. Fabianski back to Mark Noble. Noble to Rice. Rice to Souček. And then Rice gets it and drives towards the halfway line. Into Newcastle territory he goes. Slightly to this right-hand side. Finds Fredericks. Fredericks now, little layoff to Bowen. Bowen comes off the touchline infield. Goes out to Mark Noble. He rolls it into the feet. Back to goal of Fornals. Fornals now to Rice. West Ham United playing keep ball. Lovely ball inside to Maximum. Fredericks, can he get it back? Pulls it back and Bowen puts it over the top of the crossbar. But as a midfielder of no note whatsoever when I played, what a ball that was. So simple and lovely delivery by Rice.
It's St. Maximin once again switching off defensively. You know, I think you were 100% spot on before the game, playing him wide in a 4-4-2. He's got to do his defensive job. He just does not track the run of Fredericks. It's a brilliantly weighted pass from Declan Rice, and Jared Bowen should do better there. Has to hit the target, and that's probably why he's a championship striker, maybe not a Premier League player.
What I loved about Alain Saint-Maximin, he's got terrific feet, he's got superb trickery, he's got every sort of trick in the book going forward, but he looked like a park footballer there. He watched the ball go past him and then saw a West Ham United player on the end of it, thought, whoops. You know, you could almost see the doubt in his eyes, or the fear in his eyes that I should be there. Anyway, he's just done nice feet to find Jamal Lewis now. Lewis taking on Fredericks, goes inside Fredericks. Wants to get it on his left foot, flicks it outside of the boot, finds Callum Wilson, who comes wide of the West Ham penalty area. He's allowed to turn now, will face the goal, gets inside Frederick, he's on his right foot, curls it in, and it's just wide of the angle of bar and post of Fabianski's goal, but Wilson not shy there. He was given time to turn around and face the goal. He got past Fredericks and then had chance for the shot, Chris.
Yeah, Issa Diop was tight initially to Callum Wilson, but then decided to drop off him, and they just allowed him to come inside and open up the goal with his right foot, looking to bend it into the far corner. Just a little bit over Fabianski's crossbar, but you have to know that Callum Wilson's stronger foot is his right, and make sure he goes down the line there on his left foot.
Absolutely, that terrific bit of work as the ball is played back by Ogbonna to Fabianski, who's got to come out to the left-hand side of his penalty area to retrieve that pass. Finds Diop. Diop goes long, and it goes out of play. Newcastle United maybe averted that little bit of pressure that was put forward by West Ham United. It could be a mistake in this game, couldn't it? It could be a mistake that opens the possible floodgates or maybe settles.
We've already
this
seen a couple, haven't we, that have almost led to goal-scoring opportunities. Neither defence looks watertight, that's for sure.
Indeed. Last year, Newcastle normally had a Shah, Lejeune, Lascelles trio, and then played with wing-backs, didn't they? And
towards the end of the season, particularly, Manquillo is certainly more comfortable as a wing-back than he is as an out-and-out right-back, but Jamal Lewis is a natural left-back.
Actually commentated on their last game against Liverpool, and for long spells in that game, I agree with what Steve Bruce said. If you didn't catch him they played really well, and they had a real makeshift back three at the time as well. Anyway, Carroll brings this ball down. There's something about Newcastle, but they've got to find that sort of balance, haven't they? They've got to be able to score goals. They've got to make themselves a bit more of a threat going the other way, and they seem to have struggled with Joe Linton and co. At the top of the park. I think their best forward's been Salomon Rondon, who they had on loan for a long time.
Yeah, from West Brom, absolutely. Yeah, he had a good season, didn't he? I think if they can keep Andy Carroll fit for the season, which I think most Premier League sides that he's played for have struggled to do, if they can keep him fit, he's a real handful, and he'll give them a real focal point, and Callum Wilson will love to play alongside him.
Absolutely, that's superb. Anyway, Ryan Fredericks, 6 yards shy of the halfway line for West Ham United, rolls it back to Issa Diop. Takes it in his stride, rolls it in field, and then goes to Ogbonna. Tries to make his way to the halfway line, but in the end goes out to Diop. Diop now to Fredericks. Fredericks 6 yards inside the Newcastle United half a yard in from the touchline to Noble. Noble under pressure from Hayden. Goes back to Diop. Noble requests the ball to come back to him. Now rolls it into feet of Fredericks, who tries to turn it around the corner to Bowen. It's hit the body of Jamal Lewis. They were looking for handball. Now the ball is with Sam Maximin, who's trying to twist away from Fredericks. He pulls him to the floor.
Slightly fortunate there, Sam Maximin.
He is protesting. He is protesting on the floor that he took a hefty whack to the outside of his right ankle, but neither me or Chris actually saw that. But he looks quite amazed.
I mean, he obviously felt there was some contact. I think there was very little contact.
Absolutely. We're into the 43rd minute here. West Ham United 0, Newcastle United 0. 13 attempts on target. Frame has been rattled twice by West Ham United, but no real, what I would call, absolutely goal-bound chances going that way. Good work, though, in the middle of the park by Noble, and now Fornals. Fornals finds Bowen. Bowen now faced by Jamal Lewis, goes inside, running across the Newcastle United half, finds Soucek. Soucek sweeps it out after one touch to Cresswell. Cresswell 17 yards from the dead ball line, crosses it in, blocked by Manquillo. Back to Cresswell. It goes. Now to Declan Rice. Rice faced up by Shelby. Rolls it back to Mark Noble, just shy of the halfway line, but still in Newcastle United's half. Out to the left to Rice. Rice through the hole, finds Fornals. Fornals out to Cresswell. Cresswell now faced by Hendrick. Goes back to Pablo Fornals. Fornals lifts it towards penalty spot. Soucek, a little bit of buffeting inside, but it's headed away by Newcastle, and Rice gets onto the loose ball. Noble, Antonio. Out to Fredericks. West Ham United having possession now. Antonio, a chance to go forward, drills a shot into the upper thigh, lower buttock of Fernandez, and it ricochets away from the edge of the box, out for a throw to West Ham United. They kept the ball well there, West Ham.
Better, he has been better, hasn't it, in the last few minutes, having a little bit more possession, a little bit more of an attacking threat, but that Bowen chance was probably the best chance of the game.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt there. Fredericks now looking for some movement. The only movement was provided by Antonio, but he's gone back to Diop. Diop square to Ogbonna. Ogbonna live for the centre circle. Nice Newcastle United side. Out to Cresswell. Cresswell now back to Ogbonna, who's back inside his own half. Which manager, Chris, as we go towards a break, is going to be happier?
I think David Moyes will be fairly happy that he gets in at 0-0 after I think they've been dominated for long periods of this first half.
Will that Jared Bowen chance play on his mind, and because it came so late in the half, and he'll go into the break and think, actually, we've not done too bad? You know, will he think, I don't need to change too much? Because it was a good chance.
They've worked their way into it, haven't they, West Ham? As the half's gone on, they've got a little bit better. They're starting to work out now how they can play. It's going to be a long throw from Michael Antonio here. Yeah. He's gone backwards, though.
He's made the halfway line. There we go. Commentator's curse there. As soon as he picked the ball up, we're all waiting for that long throw, and he goes backwards. Anyway, we'll talk about Steve Bruce. What's Steve Bruce going to be thinking? Will have been happier the two managers regarding what his side's done, but to carve out openings, goals. Got to score when you're on top. Noble, midway inside the Newcastle half. Clips it up towards the edge of the Newcastle box, headed away by Lascelles. Rice gets onto the second ball, gets it out to Cresswell. Cresswell back to Rice. Rice still in the Newcastle half. And now plays the ball to Noble. Noble lets it go. Cresswell comes inside. We've got a whole minute, or a minimum of one additional minute to be played, which I think is just about right. There hasn't been too many injuries, and I concur that Stuart Atwell's made the right decision. Loose ball by Rice, cut out by Hendrick. Hendrick tries to square it, cut out by Rice. Rice loses out in the midfield skirmish, and the ball is played down on this near side. The left-hand side, St. Maximin now. Outside of him goes Jamal Lewis. We're into the minute that's added on at the end of the first half. Back to Shelby. Shelby 35 yards out, goes out to the right-hand side to Manquillo. Manquillo faced by Antonio. Back to Shelby, who really does need to deliver it. Does deliver now. Deep. Carroll wins a header. Hendrick goes up, headed away by Cresswell. Inside the West Ham box, Fornells just hooks it high in the sky out on this near side. Jamal Lewis beats Jared Bowen to the ball. Jamal Lewis wins it again.
Declan Rice is still down, I think, from a challenge in the middle of the pitch.
He put a very strong challenge in, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he is one of those where shortly after he made the mistake and gave the ball away, then won it back. Loses it, goes in.
Hayden.
It's a very nasty. Looks like he's caught him across the top of the knee, actually, Hayden.
It'd be interesting to see if they look at that with Hayden.
We're watching it again. We're lucky to have the replay monitor.
No, he doesn't do anything wrong there, no. Isaac Hayden.
No, the referee decides that it summed that first 45 up for us, Chris.
It's been I've actually found it a really intriguing game. Both sides with really good attacking intent at times, but just lacking that finish. And that's probably where both these sides need to improve, is in the final third. They haven't really got a goal scorer.
Well, that's it. 0-0 here at the London Stadium. West Ham United 0, Newcastle United 0. You're listening to Premier League Live.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. Impress Lost Tribes people of the Andes by demonstrating the new updated Talk Sport app. Listen live, listen again, and listen good, Buster. Download the app at talksport.com now. The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Hello, I'm Andy Goldstein, and of course you can hear me on the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy. We'll be taking all your calls, text, tweets and emails on all the big talking points from the weekend's football. And remember, we bring you the very first look at the next day's back page headlines every single night.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. Catch up and listen up without having to cough up. It's free. Go to talksport.com and download the app today. Or don't. Your choice entirely.
Hello, Jim White here. Now, if you're wondering about all the background hullabaloo, I'm helping out as lifeguard at the brand new Talk Sport swimming pool. Goff! No running there, boy! But never mind that. Join me tomorrow morning from 10, when I'll be up to my neck in the warm, chlorinated waters of the day's biggest sports stories. Come plunge with me, Jim White, straight in at the deep end of the action.
Weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport.
Driving home with Darren Goff and Doug, a sporting legend and an angry sports journalist who'll pick a fight with anyone.
Just really winds me up. Absolutely unbelievable.
To say I'm angry is an understatement.
Adrian Durham, what an absolute clown.
Dynamic, double-strength drive-time radio.
Shall I stay?
I don't like listening to him. I'll turn off.
Do you want me to stay?
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
He's an idiot.
Right, hands up, who wants me to stay?
Drive-time radio.
I don't have to.
Weekdays from 4, only on Talk Sport.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs on Sport. Talk Sport. It's the Double O Duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge over a shark-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical debate. Join Paul Alligator Hopscotch Hawksby and Andy Oddjob Jacobs, flying the plane of sporting entertainment out of the horse's bum of conventional radio.
Have we got pussy galore on the show, Andy?
No, Paul, but we've got Todd Macklin's American Sports Roundup. Will that do?
Not really, Andy, no.
Hawksby and Jacobs, shaken but not stirred. Weekday afternoons from 1 on TalkSport.
TalkSport.
Confuse bookmakers, impress football agents, and entertain the kids with the improved TalkSport app. Totally fun, totally free, totally football. Download it now from TalkSport.com.
Hey, kids, take my mobile and go over there and play or something. Don't press the button that says Tinder.
TalkSport.
Well, welcome back here. You have been listening to a Premier League Live here on TalkSport. First half has elapsed, 45 minutes between West Ham United and Newcastle United. This is your highlights. You are listening to Premier League Live. Fredericks now to deliver. Kills a deep one in. Up goes Souček. Oh, just wide of Darlow's right post. That was an excellent cross, and when it came down to it, for a minute I thought that was going to nestle in the back of the net. The big check got there. Good effort.
I thought Sam Maximan would play wide on the left. You said, I'm not sure he can do it defensively. He was really poor defensively there. Just gave Ryan Fredericks so much time to pick out that cross, and Souček is excellent in the air and timing those runs into the box. 3 goals last season in only 13 games. Such a threat when he arrives like that.
Wilson and Carroll versus Diop and Ogbono. Wilson to Shelby. Shelby 17 yards out, hits a side netting with a rasping right foot shot. What a break. That was quick.
Really sloppy on the edge of the box with Declan Rice. I thought he was terrible for England, if I'm honest, over the 2 games. He looked as though he wasn't fit, and he certainly wasn't catching John Joe Shelby getting back in there. Good play from Callum Wilson. Sucks all the defenders in, slides it to his right-hand side. Shelby's just waiting for the ball a little bit. The angle's against him. He cuts across it. Ends up coming off the outside of his right foot and is always bending away from goal into the side netting. And a really good opportunity for Newcastle.
Yeah. You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of West Ham United versus Newcastle United here at the London Stadium. I'm your host, Andrew Self. Alongside me is the former Tottenham, Southampton and Wimbledon defender Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live. Chris, I just sat down and looked at the efforts of West Ham. Maybe, just maybe, I remember some times ago, Chris Wilder was manager of Oxford. We used to turn around and say he wasn't very good and this, that and the other. He only won 1-0. That was my side. Ogbona's hit the bar, Fornals hit the bar, Souček's put a header just wide, and Bowens had a very good chance. Maybe we were a little bit hard on them.
You could argue that they've had a couple of half-decent chances. As I said earlier, I think Jared Bowen's chance is probably the best chance of the game. I mean, it's sitting there, ready to hit. He should be hitting the target. Souček attacked the ball brilliantly. Ogbona's, I think, shouldn't really score. I was actually surprised Darlow didn't get a hand on it. But they've worked their way back into the game. Let's give West Ham some credit, because they really were under pressure in the opening 20 minutes or so. They couldn't get out. They couldn't create too much, apart from maybe from a set piece. But they've worked their way back into the game, and they've started to look the more dangerous side.
But I'm with you. You know, I sit and looked at what I just wrote down, and if that was great English, I do apologise. I had a little look at what I wrote down, and then I thought to myself, I can't remember West Ham being the side in the upper, you know, being at the top of their game. I always felt Newcastle were the side that were likely to score.
Newcastle have dominated, certainly territorially. They've dominated possession for long periods, but they haven't really created a brilliant chance. I mean, you'd have to say probably the Shelby chance was the best opportunity. Just a lack of pace on the ball meant that he had to wait for it and made the angle more difficult for him. Callum Wilson's had a couple of half chances, but I think Bowen's chance was a real gilt-edged opportunity that a Premier League striker would have hit the target with, and that's my question mark over Jared Bowen. Can he make the step up to the Premier League? He works his socks off, and
he's only 23 years old.
He's only 23 years old, yeah, maybe, but at 23 years old, scoring goals in the Championship, I don't think he's a Premier League player. I think he's one of these players that could be a bit of a yo-yo player.
With you. No, exactly. Let's just look there quickly, because I've not mentioned the benches for either side. Obviously, Darren Randolph goalkeeping. But then on the bench for West Ham United, Fabian Balbuena, Andriy Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson, Manuel Lanzini, Sebastian Haller.
Yep.
You know, and Ben Johnson, 20-year-old right back. But they've got options. When they first bought those players, we were expecting them to actually be frequenting the first 11, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I really like Yarmolenko. I think he's a poor man's Arjen Robben for me. He's a left footer who plays on the right side of the pitch, and you know exactly what he's going to do, but he's very good at doing it. He's going to cut inside onto his left foot, and he can finish with his left foot. And I think he's a real threat. And I think he's a good player, and I think he's better than Jared Bowen. I think what he doesn't give you is the work rate that Jared Bowen gives you, and the defensive protection for Ryan Fredericks. But as the game goes on and West Ham need a goal more and more, you think Yarmolenko is the one that could maybe come on and change that game. But Lanzini can change. He's a good player, not played an awful lot recently. Haller was very, very good playing alongside Luka Jovic and Ante Rebic at Eintracht Frankfurt, but has lacked a partner. I'd love to see Haller play alongside Antonio and see him work as a pair.
Not very often you see pairs at the top of the park now in Premier League football. Like the good old days of Toshak and Keegan. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it or look at the brass rubbings of the games back in the day. But talking of Keegan and Toshak, quick question just before we go to this. Can Liverpool, Chris, defend their title?
They can, absolutely. I think they'll get better. I don't think there'll be many teams go to Anfield and attack as much as Leeds did and take chances as much as Leeds did. Liverpool scored 4 goals, so Leeds were open defensively. That's because they went all-out attack. They tried to score more goals than Liverpool.
Well, that was a game at 5:30 this evening, and Jurgen Klopp had good words to say about Leeds United. You're listening to Premier League Live.
Leeds played a sensational game. We played how I think a sensational game, to be honest. I know people will now say, yeah, Leeds was brilliant and Liverpool, how can that happen? But I couldn't care less, to be honest, because I knew how good they are. And they will cause us all problems. That's how it is, just the way it is. And for the first game, I said before the game, it's not in my top 10 wish list for the first match day. It was not in my top 5. It was not in my top 3. It was just not in. It was just on the list because I knew they are so different to everything we will ever face.
That was then. This is now Newcastle United here at the London Stadium. 0-0. Alongside me is former defender of Wimbledon, Southampton and Tottenham, Chris Perry. And the big money question for Chris at the half-time break. You're the manager. Would you be making any changes, Chris?
I don't see either side making any changes just yet, no. But I think West Ham may need to make a change around 60-minute mark if they don't improve slightly and just have a little bit more control of the game.
There we are, the words of Chris Perry. The second half is coming up. You will be listening to the conclusion of 10 hours of football on the opening day of a 3-day weekend of football. But for now, I can tell you, you are listening to the one channel that brings you Premier League Live.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. Impress Lost Tribes people of the Andes by demonstrating the new updated Talk Sport app. Listen live, listen again, and listen good, Buster. Download the app at talksport.com now. The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Hello, I'm Andy Goldstein, and of course you can hear me on the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy. We'll be taking all your calls, text, tweets and emails on all the big talking points from the weekend's football. And remember, we bring you the very first look at the next day's back page headlines every single night.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. Catch up and listen up without having to cough up. It's free. Go to talksport.com and download the app today. Or don't. Your choice entirely.
Hello, Jim White here. Now, if you're wondering about all the background hullabaloo, I'm helping out as lifeguard at the brand new Talk Sport swimming pool. Golf! No running there, boy. But never mind that. Join me tomorrow morning from 10 when I'll be up to my neck in the warm, chlorinated waters of the day's biggest sports stories. Come plunge with me, Jim White, straight in at the deep end of the action.
Weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport.
Driving home with Darren Goff and Doug, a sporting legend and an angry sports journalist who'll pick a fight with anyone.
Just really winds me up. Absolutely unbelievable.
To say I'm angry is an understatement.
Adrian Durham, what an absolute clown.
Dynamic, double-strength drive time radio.
Shall I stay?
I don't like listening to him. I'll turn off.
Do you want me to stay?
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
He's an idiot.
Right, hands up, who wants me to stay?
Drive time radio.
I don't have to.
Weekdays from 4, only on Talk Sport.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs on Sport. Talk Sport. It's the double O duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge over a shark-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical debate. Join Paul Alligator Hopscotch Hawksbee and Andy Oddjob Jacobs, flying the plane of sporting entertainment out of the horse's bum of conventional radio.
Have we got Pussy Galore on the show, Andy?
No, Paul, but we've got Todd Macklin's American Sports Roundup. Will that do?
Not really, Andy, no.
Hawksbee and Jacobs, shaken but not stirred. Weekday afternoons from 1 on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Confuse bookmakers, impress football agents, and entertain the kids with the improved TalkSport app. Totally fun, totally free, totally football. Download it now from TalkSport.com. Hey, kids, take me mobile and go over there and play or something. Don't press the button that says Tinder. TalkSport.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of West Ham United versus Newcastle United from the London Stadium. It's goalless at the break. I'm your host, Andrew Self. Alongside me is the former Tottenham, Southampton and Wimbledon defender, Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live. Chris, we had a little chat off air there, just while we could. You had a theory about somebody being a little bit more deeper, or trying to play a bit more deeper and allowing the other side to play in a bit more space.
Yeah, I just think if West Ham were to drop off and allow Newcastle onto them a little bit more, it might actually allow Michael Antonio more space on the counter-attack, and it might just suit West Ham. And I said to you, didn't I, that if there was a crowd in the stadium today, the West Ham fans wouldn't like that, because they're sitting back to a team like Newcastle that they would perceive as an inferior team. But I just think with no fans in the stadium, it's an opportunity maybe to do it and just see whether they can get Antonio a little bit more space down the sides on the counter-attack.
A very interesting point. We've said, will Steve Bruce, though, he's a wily old fox, Gillingham, Norwich and all the other Manchester United, all the other sides that he's played for, and as manager he's been around the block, to say the least, a few times. Will he fall for that trick, do you reckon? He knows already the pace about Antonio. You spoke about it at the start of the season.
You could see how they defended in the first half. They defended very, very deep with two backs of four. They're not allowing Michael Antonio space in behind. The only time he's had space is when they've given the ball away cheaply in West Ham's half of the pitch. So he's very aware of the threat of Michael Antonio, but that's because West Ham have been the team that have been trying to boss the game.
Looking at the West Ham bench, you've got Lanzini, who's a little bit of a hero, the Argentine. He's somebody that can make things happen. You've talked about Yarmolenko, I like Yarmolenko as well. I do love the fact that he's got a little bit up his locker, does a little bit of the unexpected and can make things happen. Do you think David Moyes will be looking at them? I know he said this week he's still got a future at West Ham.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Lanzini on his day is a fantastic little player that can sit in that pocket where Mark Noble's playing at the moment, and he's a lot more creative than Mark Noble. He certainly won't work as hard and organise as well as Mark Noble, but you just wonder whether they could lose Declan Rice or Souček from that defensive midfield role and stick another attacking player in there.
Well, you are listening to Premier League Live. The second half of the London Stadium has started. I'll run through the sides for you just to let you know, if you can imprint this in your mind's eye, that I'm sat just above the camera gantry. So I'm seeing roughly what the television pictures are, if you've ever seen games transmitted from the London Stadium. West Ham United will be playing from left to right. Ball goes through to Wilson. Wilson finds Shelby. Shelby's faced up on the apex of the West Ham box. Clips it in towards Carroll, but it's too long. Fredericks has to chest it down. A big shout for handball, which everybody in the stadium knew was nowhere near his hand. But you've got to love a trier. And the ball breaks to Newcastle United. Running through that West Ham side for you. In goal is Lucas Fabianski. They have a back four from right to left of Ryan Fredericks, Issa Diop, Angelo Ogbonna and Aaron Cresswell. Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice hold with Jared Bowen, Mark Noble and Pablo Fornals, the three in behind Michael Antonio at the top of the park. For Newcastle United, it is a straightforward situation. Carl Darlow is in goal, replacing Dubravka, who's played the last 88 games, but can't maintain that today due to an ankle injury. They have left back in Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lascelles is just inside Federico Fernandez, and right back is Javier Manquillo. Isaac Hayden, John Joe Shelby, Jeff Hendrick and Alan Saint-Maximin make a quartet across the middle of the park. Alan Saint-Maximin on the left-hand side. Hayden, the only man with the yellow card in that first half. And then up front it's Andy Carroll and Callum Wilson, new signing from Bournemouth. They're playing in black and white stripes, black shorts and black socks. West Ham United in traditional claret and blue shirts, white shorts and white socks. They are attacking the goal away to my left-hand side. There's the sides. A referee, Stuart Atwell, who, in fairness, Chris, had a decent first half.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's had control of the game, hasn't he? He's made the right decision most of the time.
Said like a true professional footballer most of the time. Just add that little caveat in there. I do love that. Anyway, the ball's just been turned over there by West Ham United. Fernandez gives it to Lascelles. Lascelles a good 20 yards inside his own half. Back to Fernandez. Fernandez out to Jamal Lewis, making his debut. Down the line into the feet of Alison Maximin, being forced away from the halfway line by Frederick. Goes back to Hayden. Hayden crossfield ball finds Javier Manquillo. He's got himself forward. Now he rolls it into the feet of Callum Wilson, 24 yards away from the West Ham goal. He finally makes an angle, clips it in towards the back post. Carroll's there, Fredericks there. Fabianski falls over. Ball goes away. And a little bit stilted, but again, it is, as we said in the first half, it seems to be, if you had to go to your local bookmakers to put your 10p win on a single, you'd think it's going to be Newcastle to score.
You'd put it on Newcastle, you would, yeah, absolutely. I think Callum Wilson just needed to get his head up a little bit quicker. Had he noticed that Andy Carroll was free a little bit quicker, I think Carroll would have been in for a shot on goal, but he just didn't really open his shoulders up and see where Carroll was.
It's a corner to Newcastle United, first of the second half, 49th minute, as Fabianski looks out of his goal. It's to his left. Shelby drills it in again, and it's headed away by Ogbonna. Hendrick picks up the loose ball. He also on debut from Burnley, and it's given back to Manquillo. It goes all the way back to Carl Darlow, who just waits for the onrushing Fornals and plays it back out to Manquillo. Manquillo, long ball forward, looking for Wilson, headed away by Ogbonna. Brought down on his chest by Hendrick, who gets spun around. Rice wins the ball, but then gives it to Manquillo. And in the end, the ball goes out of play in front of David Moyes, and Manquillo throws down the line to Wilson, who tries to head it inside of Ogbonna, who reads it well, heads it away. But again, the second ball is picked up by a Magpie shirt. And one of the longest returns to the keeper from Andy Carroll, from 10 yards inside the West Ham half, comes out. And Newcastle retaining possession. And as a player, Chris, you like to see the football, like to get your foot on the football, don't you? You like to retain possession. It gives you confidence, and it spreads throughout the team, doesn't it?
It's nice to have a feel of the ball and complete a few passes. Certainly at the beginning of each half of the game, and Newcastle have come out at the start of both halves and really done well retaining the ball and looking the more dangerous side.
Throw in, it's going to be Cresswell to take. Plenty of football still to come up on Premier League Live. 2 games tomorrow being brought for you from the Hawthorns West Brom versus Leicester, and from Tottenham's ground, the new White Hart Lane, I should say. It's Tottenham versus Everton.
I'll be doing that one tomorrow as well.
Yeah, you get around, don't you? You've got a fast bike. You've got a very fast bike. Michael Antonio, though, coming in now. Tries to lift the ball into the Newcastle box. Headed off and away by Fernandez. Bowen won't get there, so Maximin gets there first and runs away now. Makes some yards down that far side. And don't forget, Monday, 2 games on Monday night. Sheffield United Wolves and Brighton versus Chelsea. James Fielding in the chair for Sheffield United, and Tom Rennie is in the chair for the Brighton game. Premier League Live this weekend. Don't forget, you can tweet us here at TalkSport Live. And the ball goes forward. Newcastle just keeping the ball outside their own 18-yard box. Lascelles goes back to Darlow. Darlow Right foot touch, switches it to his left foot, and he clips the ball up, looking for Carroll, headed away by Soucek. Hayden chests the ball down, midway inside his own half. Short pass to his left to Lewis. Lewis tries to slip it through the hole to Wilson, but it's slightly misplaced, and Diop finds Ogbonna. Ogbonna goes back to Fabianski, who drills the ball from the penalty spot high towards Antonio, who gets a big shove in the back.
I mean, that's so stupid from Jamal Lascelles. 2 hands in the back of Michael Antonio. The referee was never going to miss that.
Well, Antonio gave it a little forward bend and a roll as well just to help it, but it was so obvious that even I would have blown my whistle for that one. And I'm an absolutely horrific ref. There we go. Diop out on the far side to Fredericks. Fredericks and Noble exchange passes. Back to the halfway line. It's a Diop. Diop 6 yards inside his own half. Square to his left-hand side now to Ogbonna. Ogbonna gallops forward and plays it out to Fornals, who's tight on this left touchline, midway inside the Newcastle half. Back to the halfway line to Ogbonna. Noble, the only man really showing for the football, receives it. Plays it where Ryan Fredericks would be, to Ryan Fredericks, who just keeps it in play. West Ham retain possession on the halfway line. Attacking the goal away to my left-hand side. Cresswell now, faced up by Hendricks. And again, I do wonder, when you play possession football, Chris, you know, we're always told we mustn't rush the ball forward, we must play possession football, but you play it square too many times and you just allow the opposition to get themselves back in behind the ball.
They've got a great defensive shape, Newcastle, as they did in the first half. That 2 backs of 4 with the 2 centre forwards in front. West Ham really cannot play through them.
They're trying, and now they're getting a little bit of a Newcastle press on them now, and Cresswell from midway inside his own half has to roll it all the way back to Fabianski. It has to be played with tempo. I'm sure you know that. You could tell us all about it and what you're told about in training. Keep it sharp, keep it flowing. As Rice picks up the ball on the left of the centre circle, and he's clipped the ball out. My word, Declan Rice, I don't know who you saw there, because that was a poor ball. He's lifted it out to the right, and there's absolutely nobody there in a claret shirt.
He's looking at the sky, isn't he? And holding his hand up.
Yeah, he's, maybe the boy needs a little bit of an arm around him from David Moyes. Cuddle.
I wonder how fit he is. He looks as though he's just a yard off at the moment, and maybe needs a couple more games.
Looks a little bit sapped of confidence. You know, he has been, dare I say it, a shining light at West Ham United.
Played every game last season, didn't he? Every minute of the season for West Ham.
And there comes a point when that pressure comes to bear on such a young man. You know, give it to Declan. Declan do it. And I know that he's not that talented to be able to do all that. We've got a yellow card again here on the far side. I'll tell you about it. Fredericks has got himself a yellow card for a challenge. But he just looks as though he's lacking a little bit of confidence. You reckon he may have? Yeah, he did actually. But it's Sam Maxman who can make a good tackle look like a foul. He's got that talent in his locker. And grimaces in pain. But he's actually had a good game, Fredericks, against St Maximin.
He's done well. Yeah, absolutely. St Maximin can be a real threat. Very unpredictable in possession. So difficult to play against.
As a Ryan Fredericks full-back, you'd like St Maximin because you know what you've got to do when you're defending, but you also know you've got half a chance going forward.
Absolutely. If you're an attacking full-back, you think you can take him the other way.
Good work there by Carroll. Heads this ball down. Fernandez tries to turn it around the corner, but it's cut out. Nice drilled-in free kick from Shelvey there. Shelvey halfway line. Goes left to right, looking for Manquillo, but it clears him, and Cresswell goes out for a throw to West Ham United.
I think if there's one thing that Newcastle probably could have done better in the first half, when you've got Andy Carroll in your team, you need to get crosses in from wide areas, high up the pitch. I think they've been crossing the ball from too deep, and Andy Carroll's been heading it from 15 yards out from goal. If you can get a little bit higher up the pitch and get those crosses in from close to the byline, then he's almost unplayable.
Good work by Hendricks, gets away from Rice, he's into the West Ham penalty area, tries to play it out to Wilson, hits the heels there of Ogbonna. Rice tries to tidy up under pressure from Andy Carroll. In the end, he lifts it forward towards the halfway line. That's easy for Fernandez just to roll it back to Manquillo. Manquillo down the line to Hendricks, back heel, hits the legs of Cresswell, hooked over the top. Manquillo is onside. Can he keep it in play? Plays it into the West Ham penalty area where Soucek rolls it back to Rice, and Rice tries to get it up to Antonio, but it's cut out by Lascelles. Lascelles to Hayden to Shelvey, midway inside the West Ham half. Short ball forward now, 15 yards into the feet of St Maximin, who's trying to twist away from Soucek. He's going square across the midway point of the West Ham half, finds Manquillo. Manquillo tries to get outside Fornals, which he does rather easy. Fornals gets back to block it, headed on by Hendrick, and is put into the back of the net by Callum Wilson. A little cushioned header by Hendrick at the front post. Callum Wilson on debut stabs it past Fabianski. It's not the most beautiful of team goals you'll ever get to see, but it's a goal for Callum Wilson on debut.
Yeah, you mentioned in the first half, deflections on crosses make them awkward for defenders. Manquillo does well, takes on Fornals, tries to get to the byline, puts a cross in. There's a horrible deflection, and it just makes it difficult for Ogbonna to get there. He can't get there. Hendricks nicks in front of him, just helps it on across goal, and there's Callum Wilson at the near post. Is it a high boot on Fabianski? It's potentially dangerous play, that.
No, I'm going to go. I think that's quite simply, he's leading with his hands. It's not his head, the foot goes.
I think that's dangerous.
No, I'm going the other way here. It's a difference of opinion. Will the TV settle it for us?
I mean, I think they'll give the goal, but I think if that's a defender, that's a free kick, because he has to go with his head. He can't go with his hands.
Well, yeah, okay. I think it's a legitimate goal. I'm going to not fall out with Mr. Perry on the other side. It's been given.
I say? Yeah,
that's all we can say. You're a defender.
We needed a goal, didn't we?
We needed a goal. Michael Covington of Idaho, listening to us from Smoky, Idaho. Sorry, the Irons have just slipped behind. He's a big West Ham fan as Wilson takes on Ogbonna. Clips it in towards Carroll. Carroll just inside the box. Has it taken off his toes there by Ryan Fredericks, and now we have the ball coming forward for West Ham to Jared Bowen. Little overlay ball out now, and Fredericks is on the charge forward. He's got him behind Lewis, going across his Hayden. Clips the ball in towards the penalty spot. Oh, that's a brave header away by Jamal Lewis, only as far as Jared Bowen. Bowen tries to play it in, but again misplaced, and Manquillo comes away with the ball. Plays it to Saint-Maximin. Saint-Maximin now up over the halfway line. He's got Manquillo to the right. There's nobody else in front of Manquillo, though. Andy Carroll's a long way out the back, and he made his yards up to the edge of the box. Manquillo stops the run, checks out, goes back and retains possession for Newcastle United. A little bit of a soft goal in the end for West Ham to concede. A little bit scruffy, one could say, as well. As you say, the deflections on the crosses just allowed Hendrick to get that little back header over the head of Ogbonna, and just towed in by Wilson from no more than about a yard and a half. Now Saint-Maximin has the ball tight on that far touchline, crosses it in, looking for the run, headed away by Diop. In front of Wilson, goes away from another corner to Newcastle United. Do you fancy Newcastle United? Think one more in this game is possibly theirs?
Yeah, I don't see West Ham, certainly with the way they've played tonight, scoring 2 goals. They look as though one's probably going to be the maximum. I just wonder if Sebastian Haller is in David Moyes' mind. Can they get 2 strikers on the pitch, maybe match Newcastle up in terms of shape, go 4-4-2 themselves?
I've got a funny feeling that we're going to see Carroll go off and Almiron come on in a minute, which for bags of pace, because it's going to be an away team. Yeah, it's going to be a away team's performance now. The corner comes in, drilled again towards Lascelles. Lascelles pushes Antonio out of the way. The referee sees that one as well. Yeah. He likes a good old push, doesn't he, Jamal Lascelles?
It's so obvious what he does as well. He's got no disguise in what he does at all. Felipe Anderson is warming up at the moment. There's a few, though, out there. Yarmolenko's another.
Yeah, I didn't mention it, but as the players came out of the tunnel for West Ham United, their body language wasn't great. There was a few heads being thrown back as they wandered out of the tunnel.
You wonder whether they've gone in. You wonder whether David Moyes has seen it like we did in the first half and thought, actually, it's been a really poor West Ham performance.
Yeah, there's a few that's like, here we go again, heads on there, and this is the first game of the season as Antonio tries to take on Lascelles, loses out to Manquillo, just as he tried to break into the Newcastle box. 60 minutes on the clock, you'll listen to Premier League Live. West Ham United trail at home here to a goal from Callum Wilson on debut for Newcastle United. It's 1-0 Newcastle as Fabianski plays it out to Rice. And just thinking, looking at the bench for Newcastle United, and you just feel that maybe 60 minutes, 65 minutes, Andy Carroll's
not going to last 90 minutes, is he?
No. You saw on that last attack, he took a long time to get himself forward there, and you just wonder if the little Paraguayan with a big smile, who played an awful lot of football, has got absolutely heaps of pace, aside from Atalanta United.
It'll also allow them to play a 4-5-1, be a little bit more defensive.
Yeah. Rice a little bit further forward, plays it out to Fornals. Fornals cuts inside of Manquillo, 24 yards from the goal of Newcastle United, but he's going further away. And it's squared to Noble. Noble's only got one option, which is Fredericks. And it's a little give and go.
You look at West Ham's midfield, you've got Rice, who's basically a defensive midfielder, you've got Souček, who's a defensive midfielder, and you've got Mark Noble, who's basically been a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
They need something different. They need someone who's going to create something in there.
Well, they were looking at Jared Bowen. I just thought then, just a moment ago, as they played with Fredericks down that far side, Bowen's coming in and he's just getting a bit lost, and that then leaves, as I said in the first half, Michail Antonio at the top of the park, completely on his own. He throws it in quickly there, 10 yards away from the corner flag to the chest of Bowen. Bowen back to Antonio. Shelvey tries to turn it away, but it's gone away for a corner to West Ham United. I don't really know what Shelvey's claiming for there.
He felt it was a foul. It wasn't. Just Michail Antonio's very strong.
Loving it. We got another shout coming in, and Steve Bond 007 Data Bond _ Stephen. Newcastle looks more united in front than a divided West Ham. We've also got a shout coming in as well as this corner's lifted in by Bowen, headed away by Carroll. That's what you can't afford to lose, his defensive height at set pieces, which he does give you. West Ham turn the ball down this near side, down left-hand side. Rice tried to play it in into the 6-yard box. It goes clear by Lascelles for a throw. Big shout as well to Joe 618. Joe Ely, loving the resumption of football all 10 hours today, enjoying the matches. I drive home from officiating a pair of under-17 matches in Indiana in the USA.
Well, you're driving a long way home if you've been listening for 10 hours.
Well, America's a big country. It's a big country, in fairness. That was one. The picture of him sporting a red and yellow card. Antonio with a long throw into the Newcastle box. Souček got there, but didn't get enough on it. Ball breaks, and that's a good win there by Manquillo inside his own box against Antonio. Played it to Hendrick. Hendrick plays it down the line, deflects from Fornals out for a throw to Newcastle United. Pressure dissipates away from the Magpies' goal. And you've been there. You've been in sides that have had those sort of periods where life isn't always great. You know, what do the players do? What are they thinking out there? You're looking for leaders, surely, now.
You're definitely looking for Mark Noble now to take the ball by the horns if you're a West Ham player. And you're looking for Michail Antonio to stand up, hold the ball up, bring others into play. You're looking for the internationals, Declan Rice, to stand forward, you know. But you're looking for your manager to make a change probably as well. You're probably thinking, you know, it's not working. You need to change something. Come on, Gaffer, what have you got?
It is, you know, you go through these movements, and when you have no crowd, the crowd can act as a 12th man. They're not allowed in the stadiums, obviously, at the moment. But you've got to find those people that are going to turn around and say, look, I'm going to lead by example here. I'm going to take it to Newcastle United. And I just don't know if they've got those bodies, you know. There's a little bit of... Oh, that's a poor back pass anyway. Darlow gets out there and arm goes up.
Isaac Hayden, very apologetic there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'd have been apologising for a lot longer if Antonio had got on the end of that, but it was good work by Darlow. Good starting position to clear it away. Fredericks with the throw. Had another shout in on the tweet, so I'll just have a few words about that in just a moment, about Callum Wilson scoring goals. He just loves scoring against West Ham when he was at Bournemouth. It was the most successful side for putting the ball back in the back of the net. But there are no real big leaders, as you say, in the West Ham side.
I don't think Mark Noble's a huge vocal leader. I mean, he is one that leads by example. But
you just, you know, I go back to the days of when my eyes were first really opened to football, and Brian Robson was one of those. What a play! You know, he would run through the proverbial brick wall and it just inspire people on. And I was just going to say, John Joe Shelvey, whilst not the most talented, he has a little bit of spite about his midfield play sometimes, which is like, come on, let's get stuck in, let's do it. Yarmolenko is the man that is going to be ready to come on, Chris.
Yeah, I like Yarmolenko. As we both said, we both like him. I think he's got a little bit of more quality than Jared Bowen. And probably coming on as sub, he's a lot more effective. Struggles to do it for 90 minutes.
Indeed. Long ball forward by Diop, looking for the run of Antonio, who's trying to get in behind Lewis, but it goes straight out of the play.
Service has been so poor to Michael. And Sebastian Allaire too. I like this change.
It's a positive change, isn't it? Big shout to Jason McGinn at JD Bullet, saying he just loves scoring against West Ham. Lovely to have you along there for this game this evening on Premier League Live. Talk Sport bringing you 10 hours of football today. And don't forget, 2 more games for you tomorrow. And interesting battles as well. West Brom, Leicester City, Toby Gillis and David Connolly, Tottenham, Everton, Joe Shannon and yourself, Chris, back again to bestow the professional side of the game to us mere commentators. Anyway, there's 2 changes. I don't know who the changes have. The changes haven't actually been made just yet. Diop seems to see the ball go forward, but Wilson spins away from Ogbonna. But Good work there by Ogbonna. Clips the ball down the line. Mankio does keep it in play. Fornells is there. Who should change this then?
I think
Bowen for Yarmolenko.
I think Souček might come off. Hasn't played a lot of football recently.
Yeah, be self-isolating after the international break.
I think you've got to keep Antonio, or maybe Fornells would be the one, or Bowen. Fornells or Bowen, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think Bowen would be the one that, in my eyes, I just think he's a hugely talented player. He's a young man, but I just think he's got a little bit lost in this game, trying to find pockets and not being found. And going back to something we spoke about, Michail Antonio.
It's poor from Steve Agnew. Steve Agnew there. Just leave the ball.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be getting involved in that. The first team coach from Newcastle.
Fornells is the man that makes way for Yarmolenko.
And it's Noble. They needed to lose one of those defensive-minded midfielders.
That's an interesting... So Yarmolenko comes on and Allaire comes on. Now we could see a little bit more threat. Rice maybe pushing a little further forward. I don't know. You've still got Souček. And
Souček's playing a little bit further forward.
Allaire's going to be the...
Bowen's playing a little bit more central now.
Yep, he's got to try and play that number 10 role. Antonio's come out to the left-hand side, taking on Lascelles. Crosses it in, hits the legs of Lascelles, goes away for a corner.
I still think Michail Antonio's actually more dangerous in wide areas. I mean, I played with him at Southampton when he first came from Reading, and what a talent he was, and so direct and so dangerous in wide areas.
Absolutely, it's going to be Cresswell with this corner. Goal away to my left-hand side. West Ham on the attack. Newcastle lead by a goal to 0. 68 on the clock. And it's going to be Darlow looking out to his right-hand side. Here comes the corner. It's high, it's hanging out. The back is Rice. Heads it back in. Back to goal. Turned on by Allaire. A little bit of a 2 and 8 in there. Goes back across. We've got hands and shouts. They're all asking for handballs. Allaire got the ball back across the face. They are screaming like banshees here. I didn't see too much myself. I don't know about you.
I think it misses the goalkeeper and hits a Newcastle player in the 6-yard box. It's whether it strikes him on his arm. His arm looked to me as though it was away from his body.
Larry challenge from Mankio.
Yeah, really poor challenge. I think it hits Hendrick.
Waiting to see what happens here. It was a real Keystone Cops moment, in fairness, because I say that in the nicest possible way, but nobody really knew what the football was doing. It went wide of the goal and it was hooked back in by Allaire. And then that's when the screaming and the arm raising went off.
They're looking at it. They are looking at it. It's Allaire keeps it alive, doesn't he? Well at the back post. I think you can give a penalty for that. I don't think it'll be harsh, but you've seen them given.
I'm going to say something a little bit controversial.
I think because it's that high up his arm, I think it's difficult.
I think it should be a penalty for the hairstyle of Jeff Hendrick. You know, it's headband and long hair is, it's I don't know. Maybe for that Manquillo challenge, in fairness, it was on the halfway line. It was so poor. We're waiting to see exactly what happens.
David Moyes is asking why it wasn't a penalty. I think he's just got the bad news that I think his arm wasn't hugely away from his body. It hit him quite high up the arm, so it obviously looks closer to his body than it was. I think if it hit him on the lower part of the arm, I think it would have been a penalty.
Yeah, I think another 4 inches away from the side of his body, and it's a penalty all day long. Yeah. But it is, his arm is down. It's, I think that West Ham showing a little signs of, there was quite a concerted...
a bit desperate, aren't they?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah. They are showing signs of distress. They need to get themselves back into it. Don't forget you can tweet us here at TalkSport Live if you're enjoying the wonderful insight provided by Chris Perry. He's on duty, as I say, tomorrow as well. That's a big one tomorrow, Tottenham-Everton. Everton have done some strength, and Ancelotti had to do a lot as well. So that's a good one.
Looking forward to seeing how Jose Mourinho has had more of an impact a whole pre-season to work with Spurs, whether he can actually transform what was, I thought they were pretty poor towards the end of the season, if I'm honest. And then obviously, the new signings at Everton. Exciting new signings. James Rodriguez, looking forward to seeing, certainly.
Yeah, but it's Everton are one of those sides, aren't they? They can buy, to a degree, I've got to say, a bit like West Ham in a way. They seem to buy players for a lot of money, but
they don't seem to perform.
It doesn't quite happen for them.
And you look at Gylfi Sigurdsson, is £45 million. I mean, and he's just not shown up, has he?
No, and I do like Gomez, isn't it? They had
Andre Gomez, good play. Yeah,
good
the
player.
injury curtailed him for a little bit, didn't he? But good to see him back towards the end of last season.
Really nice player. But back here, I think Yarmolenko's talked his way into a yellow card with Stuart Atwell. I think he's still contesting the fact that it should have been a penalty.
Yeah, they're frustrated now, West Ham. They've just got to keep control of their emotions here.
Indeed. Long ball goes forward from Newcastle. Ogbonna goes up with Andy Carroll. Loose ball breaks out on his near side. Bowen hooks it away from the apex of his own penalty area. Volleyed back towards the edge of the box by Shelvey and then headed away by Ogbonna. Picked up by Rice. Rice up to the halfway line. Short pass to Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko 12 yards inside. Cuts inside. Rolls the ball into the feet of Soucek. Soucek square to the left back Cresswell. Cresswell now faced up by Hendrick. Gives it to Bowen. Bowen comes in off this left wing. Again, it's going square.
Everything comes inside. Everything comes inside with West Ham at the moment. They need to get their fullbacks higher up the pitch, as they're trying to do here.
Fredericks gets in behind. Good ball by Rice again. Loves to slide it in behind the fullback, but again, it's sort of thwarted somewhat. Ball goes in, deep ball in. Manquillo gets enough on it, as Cresswell was the nearest man to it. Picked up by Jared Bowen, faced up by Manquillo. He's on a yellow card now, edge of the box. He goes onto his right foot, drills it against the derriere of Hendrick, and Manquillo clears the ball for Newcastle United up to the halfway line.
Have we got any French viewers?
Well, I like to throw the odd word. I like to throw the odd word in to show my multilingual capacity. I don't know many of them, Chris. Don't go any further than that. He was in a cul-de-sac at the time, and there we are, another one for you. Hayden's gone down with an injury. We're into the 72nd minute. You are listening to Premier League Live. We've had 10 hours of football. We're into the final 19 minutes of regulation time here. Newcastle United, who you felt came here and fancied their chances of 3 points, the way they set up. A very attacking lineup. Lead by a goal to nil, scored by the debutant Callum Wilson, who just loves scoring against West Ham United. And in fairness, you would say, on the balance of things,
they're worth their lead, aren't they?
Yeah. It's the two debutants. Henrik gets a little header over the head of Bon Lahore.
It's quite far away from Fabianski's body, isn't it? If it was a bit closer to Fabianski, I think it may have been a free kick, but no, the referee's done well there.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you said I said it was a goal from in, and it's taken you 16 minutes to apologise of a fashion, Chris, but yes. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Newcastle to lead by a goal.
I'm just glad we've had a goal.
Yeah. Got a shout coming in as well. Hobbits in my garden. Becky NZ listening to TalkSport Live in bed on a Sunday morning in New Zealand with a tea and toast. Listen to the banter and not surprised West Ham are getting beaten.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep, we also got another shout in. Oriel boy, I think that's how it is. You're all a lifesaver. I couldn't watch any of today's matches, but I feel up to speed with those I've actually watched. Kudos to us down here. But it's been a very, very... We had to follow a very good 7-goal thriller.
It was always going to be tough, wasn't it? For this one to live up to that. But it's been a good game.
It's been a good game. It's two sides that we don't think will threaten the top end of the table, but it's been a very interesting game of football, and I think hats off to Steve Bruce for the way he set his Newcastle United side up. And I think that West Ham United, whilst we don't think it's been brilliant, they've had some chances.
You do think that David Moyes is looking at this thinking, we've got to take at least a point from this when you look at our next 6 games.
Yeah, it's a tough one because after those next 6 games, and he may surprise us all and confound all the critics.
They could potentially be on 0 points after 7 games if they don't win this game, if they don't get something from this game.
The scale of the opposition, top 8 sides in their next 6 games. Good ball by Hendrick down the line. Manquillo's in behind, lays it in. Wilson's there, cleared by Fabianski's legs. That was a big effort there. Wilson again got across his man. St Maximin drills one in from 24 yards. It's high over the bar. But again, it was very easy to get in behind Cresswell this time. Hendrick's turned it down.
It's Bowen this time who loses man. Manquillo is actually a really poor ball. He should be doing better there. He almost bobbles it in towards Wilson, and Wilson can't get on the end of it. St Maximin swivels on the clearance, strikes it beautifully, but it goes high and wide.
There's a change. I think it's St Maximin maybe getting replaced here.
Joe Linton, I saw, was ready to come on. I'd be surprised if it was for St Maximin.
I would be surprised indeed. I would have thought they might have been looking at a Fraser or a Ritchie at this point. It is Joe Linton. Well, Chris, talk me through this substitution.
I'm not sure. Maybe Callum Wilson will play wide and Joe Linton will Yeah. Joe Linton's gone wide left, and to be fair, he played a little bit of wide left when he was at Hoffenheim.
He did at the back end of last season as well.
Yeah.
The big number 9. Long ball forward for West Ham. Should be easy this time for Hayden. I should say Lascelles gets there and hooks it away up towards the halfway line. Cresswell gets it down, lifts it forward. Big strong header away by Lascelles yet again. Carroll 737041113. Is that your telephone number, Carroll? Thanks to everybody at TalkSport Live. We've enjoyed every match today on our family road trip to the mountains of Virginia.
Oh, very nice. The Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia.
On the trail of that? No, don't. You knew it was coming. I can't resist a second line to that song, but at the moment, Sebastian Allaire has just been penalised for jumping into the centre half. And it's a free kick to Newcastle United just outside their own penalty area. That's been a little bit frustrating. West Ham United haven't really been able to sustain any pressure on the rear guard of Newcastle United at all.
They haven't been able to get it into a centre forward to retain possession. The hierarchy at West Ham look on from above us, and you just wonder what they're thinking.
It's difficult. There's still time in the transfer window. But again, as you say, I did say right at the top of the game that turmoil coming into the season with the Grady Diangana situation and plus a couple of pros turning around and saying that they weren't too happy with it. Have they set the tone? Have they cast the die? And the first 6 or 7 games could set it.
I think, you're looking at, they've made 3 bids for James Tarkowski. James Tarkowski doesn't want to come to West Ham. He doesn't see it as a step forward from Burnley. That's their problem.
Well, in fairness today, I think Issa Diop and Ogbonna have actually performed.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Admirably. I think where they've been found wanting is they've had their 2 full-backs left a little bit exposed by, Bowen and co not really getting back, and Fornell's not getting back when they've broke forward. Manquillo clipped ball in this time into the Newcastle box, I should say, but they're going to get it away with Wilson. Wilson's got Yarmolenko with him up to the halfway line. Short ball into Carroll, he loses out, but it breaks to Hendrick. Hendrick lifts the ball out far side, and it's Joe Linton now down the left-hand side, facing the touchline. Rolls it back to Shelby. You just feel at the moment Newcastle are in a fairly relaxed mode. Little ricochet ball goes to Hendrick. Hendrick inside the box, faced by Fredericks. Rolls it back to Joe Linton on the edge of the box. Sets the ball for Shelby. Terrific block by Ogbonna.
Saw that so early, didn't he? Saw that so early, Angelo Ogbonna. Got himself out, blocked the shot from John Joe Shelby that was goalward bound.
Was a little bit telegraphed the set, but good defensive work. Ogbonna, the pick, I would say, of the West Ham players for me today. He's done everything just about right. Cresswell gets himself forward this time now. Can he whip the ball in towards Allaire? Hits Allaire on the chest. Souček thinks about the overhead kick, but he lets the ball break to Bowen. Bowen's dispossessed by Shelby. Strong challenge by Hendrick is beaten and ridden by Rice. Rice into the box. Tries to go through 3 black and white shirts. Ricocheted clearance comes outside the penalty area of Newcastle United to Antonio. A little short ball to Cresswell. Cresswell deep ball in towards Allaire. Headed away by Joe Linton. Inside the D of his own penalty area. Chests it down. Hooks it over his shoulder by the goal scorer Callum Wilson. And it's Cresswell back on the halfway line that tries to retrieve the situation for West Ham.
Steve Bruce will be a little bit worried that Newcastle just starting to drop a little bit deep now and allow this pressure to build.
Very natural instinct, isn't it?
It is absolutely when you've got a 1-0 lead.
They say 2-0's a dangerous lead to have, but 1-0, you just naturally want to go back. Ball from Yarmolenko drilled in, a couple of deflections. Antonio can't collect, and it's cleared from inside his own penalty area by Hendrick up to the halfway line to Ogbonna. But the natural process is to defend what you've got, and that could play into West Ham's hands here. Cresswell down the line. Antonio lifts the ball into the box, looking for Allaire. It's slightly behind him, cleared by Fernandez away for a West Ham corner. And it doesn't matter. You've been there. You know. People start sitting deeper, sitting on your toes. And getting rid of the ball is difficult.
I think that the thing now with West Ham is they've got a target man in Allaire. They can put a long ball in there and force Newcastle to defend around their 18-yard box, which they couldn't do with just Michael Antonio up front.
Corner in by Cresswell, curls away, headed by Carroll away, edge of the box. Yarmolenko gets it down, drills it back in, but it's wide of Darlow's left-hand post. A little deflection, not a corner to West Ham United, and I'm not sure about you, but look at Yarmolenko. He's got half the field.
Yeah, well, Newcastle are marking zonally, so they're not too worried about people that are out of the goal-scoring zone, but Yarmolenko is free in the box.
He's also a class act. lifts the ball in, headed into the box, off the shins of Joe Linton and hacked away by Carroll inside the 6-yard box. Fredericks clips it out to this left-hand side. Cresswell gets it down, faced up by Hendrick, goes down the line, not read by Antonio, and cleared by Manquillo.
Newcastle just can't get out at the moment. Since they've made those substitutions, Andy Carroll's gone off. They just haven't got someone to hold the ball up. Callum Wilson's playing up front by himself, and the ball is just coming back all the time.
Going to be a long throw from Mikhail Antonio. Another shout in from Oriel Boy. Newcastle United is going to score one more goal, and it's down. And it's all over. Listening from Oriel in Lagos. In it goes from the throw, headed away by Carroll. Manquillo bouncing ball, gets it away of a fashion, only to the apex of the box. It's high in the air, bounces. Antonio gets it down on his chest. Hayden is with him, goes in.
Carroll's almost playing centre half now.
Yeah, it was a little bit suspect by Fernandez. Now Shelby comes forward. He's got one in front of him, which is Wilson, who he finds. Wilson somehow falls for the old trick there. Cresswell was already down for the ball and won it back, and now breaks forward for West Ham United. Turns it back to Rice. A little bit of urgency in West Ham United all of a sudden.
Well, I think that's to think so, wouldn't you?
Well, you think that Newcastle have allowed them that urgency?
Yeah, they have. They've just sat back.
Yarmolenko, faced up by Joe Linton. Little Cruyff turn down the line to Antonio. Pops up on the right now. Tries to take on Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis.
He's had a good game, hasn't he? He's had a good game. He is solid. He is solid. And he was, as I said, people were talking about Max Aarons at Norwich. Jamal Lewis was just steady. Does the job defensively. Max Aarons looks better going forward, but defensively was very suspect.
I think in the first half he combined well going forward with Maximan. I think in the second half, Maximan caused him a few problems with his hand in the first half, unwarranted not tracking back, but he's got a lot of pace.
They'll take a bit of getting used to for Jamal Lewis. He'll get to know Sam Maximan's game, and he'll know that maybe he can't go forward as much as he probably did at Norwich.
Absolutely, Joe Linton stabs the ball through towards Carroll. It's won by Ogbonna. Diop turns it back to Fabianski. We're into the final 8 regulation minutes here. It's been a marathon, 10 hours of football here. You've been listening to Premier League Live, and Souček rolls the forward now to Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko takes it forward. Little layout to Fredericks. Fredericks cross in. Cut out. Decent by Hayden there, because looping in behind him was Mikhail Antonio, who seems to be doing this fashion thing about rolling up one thigh of his trousers or his shorts. I don't know what that's all about.
I think he's got huge thighs, Michael Antonio, and I just wonder whether he's done that so that he can move. The shorts are too tight, I think.
He's not razor running. Yarmolenko with a corner for West Ham, goes short to the apex of the box to Fredericks, stops it, chips the ball in, headed by a very good header by Allaire, just going underneath the crossbar, but it had no pace on it, and it was caught nicely under the bar by Darlow. But a well-worked corner.
Wasn't quite a clean header, was it? It's actually Fernandez does enough, doesn't he, just to get a little bit of a touch on it and slow it down, make the save easy for Darlow.
Lifted forward by Darlow now, looking for Carroll. Carroll's beaten in the air by Cresswell. Manquillo hooks it back into the West Ham half.
We're going to see Almiron soon, I think.
You just fancy that's a perfect away day foil now, don't you?
You just wonder whether Andy Carroll now is a bit of a passenger. Or do you just play him centre half?
Well, he's got, as I said, defending, as you know, Chris, is an art that nobody really talks about. And when it comes down to set pieces into your penalty area,
he's brilliant.
He's going to be an absolute godsend for you inside that penalty area, because he wins. He's got good aerial presence. And it looks as though Callum Wilson is going to be removed for the smiling Paraguayan, Miguel Almiron. And he is, if you're going to sit deep, anybody knows, just hook it into the space that West Ham leave behind their back four now, and Almiron's going to try and exploit that place. It's a great get-out-of-jail card for you, isn't it?
It makes complete sense, doesn't it, to have that pace on the counter-attack, and he's a very good ball carrier as well. He's not just someone who likes the ball in front of him to run onto. He can carry the ball at pace as well, which is a really big help when you're sitting back defensively.
Might feel a little grieved that he finds himself on the bench.
I think he's he might be used a little bit more at home this season.
Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Carroll's made it up after a little bout of cramp, and it's going to be Manquillo 3 yards in from this right touchline and 8 yards inside the West Ham half to drill it up towards the edge of the West Ham box. It's a poor ball headed away with ease by Ogbonna. Shelby goes back to Fernandez, and Fernandez goes straight out to Almiron. Almiron plays it down the line. Joe Lindsay's got himself in behind the full back. They're looking for offside. He's into the box now. Short pass to Miguel Almiron. He takes one touch, and his shot is blocked by a fast recovering Thomas Souček.
That has got to be the latest linesman's flag ever.
He put it up during the Leeds match. Oh, there we go. Souček plays the ball out to this near side to Cresswell, midway inside the West Ham half. He tries to go towards the halfway line, does so. Looks outside and finds Jared Bowen. Bowen comes in off this left-hand side. He'll go square, 8 yards inside the half to Rice. Rice has got Fredericks out on that far touchline. Fredericks now receives the ball, just shy of the penalty area. Short ball back to Rice, down the line to Yarmolenko. It comes in, short ball again. Give and go with Fredericks, although Yarmolenko's forced back towards the halfway line with that pass. He does turn it forward again. Looking for Souček. Good work by Fernandez. Got his body across the ball. And Cardalo was out faster than somebody from Walthamstow in trap one to collect.
Not too far away, Walthamstow, from that ground.
Ah, there we are. Look at that. There we go. Longstaff is going to get the traditional eat a few seconds up at the end of the match substitution, by the looks of it, for Newcastle United as we approach 87 minutes. Almiron to Carroll. Carroll back to Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis opts for the safe ball back to Federico Fernandez just inside his own half. Back out to Jamal Lewis. Game management there for Newcastle United into Almiron. He does well. Little give and go with Carroll. He's on the edge of the box, turns, rolls it back to Hendrick. Can it be a debut goal for him? Finally lashes one into the top corner. 17 yards out. 2 debutant goals. 87 minute. Jeff Hendrick, who had a part in the first goal, received the ball just inside the West Ham penalty area and buried a right foot shot high into Fabianski's net. Chris Perry, it had been coming.
It's a really well-worked goal from a Newcastle point of view, but Issa Diop sells himself in the middle of the pitch. Miguel Almiron plays a lovely little 1-2 around him with Andy Carroll, and then picks out the perfect pass across the box for Hendricks. Has one touch to set himself, and then what a finish it is with his right foot. Cuts it back across goal, past Aaron Cresswell, past Lucas Fabianski, into the opposite far corner. It goes right into the roof of the net. It's a brilliant finish from Hendrick.
Well, if you like your ice hockey, it wasn't a slap shot, it was a snapshot. It was well placed. He sort of just drove into the ball and he placed it into the top corner. Fabianski could do nothing about it. And Newcastle United 2 goals up now. And they are heading towards the points. And David Moyes, beleaguered summer, just gets a little bit more beleaguered.
I wonder what money you get on West Ham having 0 points after 7 games. I think they'll pick up a couple of points, but I can't see them getting too many points from the next 6 games. They really are in trouble now, having lost this one, if they do end up losing.
It's going to have to be like a real guard battle here from day one of the season. The next, I know the fixture list hasn't been kind. Felipe Anderson coming on for Jared Bowen now. We're into the 89th minute. I know the fixture list hasn't been kind. It's not been kind to many sides over the years. But they are going to have to go into almost siege mentality. They've got to go and pinch points against sides that have finished really well last season. So it's tough to say that so early in the season. It's quite tough for them to bear as well, I would say.
It's a very difficult mindset to go into, knowing you've lost to a team. No disrespect to Newcastle, they've been the better team today, I think. But they've lost to a team like Newcastle, and now they're facing 6 of last season's top 8.
Almiron now drives forward to Shelby, just outside the West Ham penalty area. Souček's there, back to Almiron, level the 18-yard box. Almiron rolls it back to Lewis. Lewis back to Almiron, back to Lewis. Longstaff has come on for Andy Carroll. As just eats a few seconds, we're into the final regulation minute here. Wait to see what's going to be added on, but Allaire gets the ball to Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko turns it on to Antonio. Antonio now one-on-one with Federico Fernandez, who just waits and then puts his toe in, and it goes away for a set piece. And this is a set piece Newcastle will have to defend the corner without the height of Andy Carroll, so we'll just see how good it is.
Let me tell you, if West Ham score from this corner, Jamal Lewis is getting an absolute rocket from Steve Bruce. He just needed to put the ball in behind, tried to play short, and he ended up conceding the corner.
Yarmolenko swings it in. Darlow looks out. It's a poor ball in. It's bounced inside the 6-yard box. It goes high in the sky. Ogbonna stabs it out to Rice, just inside the apex of the Newcastle box. Back to Cresswell. Back to Rice, faced by Lewis. Little layoff then to Cresswell. Good cross in, but nicely placed for the keeper, in fairness. Looked like a decent ball at first. Got it round the man in front of him, curled it in, but Darlow gathered it quite safely.
He hasn't been tested, has he?
No,
you know, he's a goalkeeper who hasn't played at all in the Premier League all last season, and yet West Ham haven't tested him at all.
One save from Antonio in the first half. He got down smartly to his left-hand side. Wasn't a really powerful shot, but I suspect the only time I've seen him really go down and get a bit of grass stain on his kit. Big shout in. Bournemouth fan here, Roy Bailey, saying, good to see Callum score. We did okay today with a 3-2 win. Nice to have you along. Also, it is done. Great day. Be joining you tomorrow. That is Oriel Boy again from Lagos. So don't forget, 2 big games tomorrow for you. West Brom Leicester at 2 o'clock. Tottenham Everton at 4:30. Chris will be in the box again for the second of those matches. West Ham United trailing by 2-0. 5 additional minutes, a minimum of. Fredericks lays it to Antonio. Antonio drills it in, hits the legs of Lewis, goes back to Antonio, drills it into the 6-yard box. Manquillo has time to clear it, no pressure on him to clear the ball inside his own 6-yard box in front of his own goal. Shelvey gets the bouncing ball down, plays it to Almiron. Almiron plays it for Joe Linton, who runs into the channel. Little lay back to Shelvey. Shelvey now clips the ball up to Sean Longstaff, chests it down, apex of the West Ham box, just inside. Back out to Shelvey. Surely now it's game management. Keep that football if you're a Magpies fan. Keep it away from the claret and blue shirts. That's all they'll be saying. Steve Bruce will now have a warm glow inside him as Newcastle United finally squander possession as Manquillo chucks it up in the air and Diop gets pushed out of the way. But 5 minutes to play. Anderson, first touch of the ball. Gain cuts inside, finds Rice. Rice, short ball forward now to Allaire and Lascelles just outside the Newcastle penalty area. Allaire wants something to ping the ball to. Finally finds Ryan Fredericks. Ryan Fredericks down the line now to Yarmolenko, opposite side. Lascelles and Lewis there. Yarmolenko puts it in again inside the 6-yard box. It's comfortable for Fernandes just to clear his lines. There's no pressure on the centre halves of Newcastle inside that 6-yard box, Chris.
It looks to me that when the ball comes into the box, the West Ham forwards have got no idea when it's going to come in, because when you look at Bowen, wants to cut inside from the wing. Fornals is a right footer playing on the left, wants to cut inside. Yarmolenko's the same, a left footer playing on the right hand side, wants to cut inside, so you never know when the ball's going to come in. So when he went down the outside there, it was a complete surprise to the centre forward, so they don't make the run.
Yeah, we said about Callum Wilson in the first half, busting a gut to get across his man. You're not seeing that from any West Ham player. Ball now with Yarmolenko inside the box, curls one in, saved, double ricochet off Lascelles and Darlow. Darlow punched it into Lascelles and back off for Darlow again as Almiron outstrips Diop now, drives towards the penalty area. Is this number 3, Almiron? Good block in the end, comes from Ogbonna, and it goes away for a corner to Newcastle United. But Newcastle have been in control. Darlow with a save from a shot from Yarmolenko.
Diop's been not great today, has he?
No,
He's very suspect.
From the moment I said they'd done okay, centre halves, the wheels have fallen off his bus.
Ogbonna again gets across and does really well. Gets his centre-back partner out of jail there. You can't allow Yarmolenko back onto his left foot, Jamal Lewis. You have to show him down the line. Open the goal up. Fortunately, Yarmolenko's radar wasn't quite on, and it was just about saved by Darlow.
Shelvey taking most of these 5 minutes to get across and take this corner.
Can't blame him, can you?
No.
It's up to the referee to speed him up.
He needed 60,000 Irons fans there questioning his parentage and giving him a bit more stick just to slow him down a little bit further, I feel. But I think he was allowed to jog over there a little too easy. Newcastle flying high. We've got Johnson 3-1-7, 3-1-0-1-0. What a great handle that is. Shelby's got himself in behind, down to the dead ball line. Can he pull it back? Fabianski near post, drills it in off the legs of Fabianski. Allaire, little layoff for Yarmolenko, but again it's a misplaced, which sort of kills the impetus, and he has to check back towards his penalty area. Now he rolls it infield to Declan Rice. Declan Rice now makes his way forward, back to Yarmolenko, 12 yards inside the Newcastle half. In front of him is Fredericks. A little lollipop there. Now he plays it to Fredericks. Fredericks about to stand the ball up. Darlow, easy catch again. Antonio through the middle, Allaire since. They're feeding up
Poor
scraps.
cross, wasn't it? It was a poor cross from Ryan Fredericks. But one of the first times he's actually got down the outside into a decent crossing position in the whole game.
It's been, that lone centre-forward role, I've always had a bit of it, when it's played well, it's played well. But you only have to really look at Didier Drogba at Chelsea. For years, he played it superb. And Chelsea find it difficult even now to find that lone striker.
Giroud does it well for me, for whoever he plays for.
Very well. He lacks the goals.
But that's because he brings others into play so
Superb,
well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Referee Stuart Atwell says that's enough. Chris, sum up what has been, I think, a fairly comfortable victory for Newcastle United.
Yeah, I think it's a thoroughly professional away performance of Newcastle. I thought they dominated possession in the first half with a better team, allowed West Ham back into the game a little bit before half-time, but came out after half-time, dominated the game again, got the goal that their play deserved, and then they just sat back, sucked West Ham onto them, hit them on the counter-attack, and, Steve Bruce will be overjoyed with that perfect away performance from Newcastle.
Well, it's finished here. West Ham United 0, Newcastle United and their debut boys, Callum Wilson and Jeff Hendrick 2. You've been listening to Premier League Live. Kio tries to get outside Fornals, which he does rather easy. Fornals gets back to block it. Headed on by Hendrick, and it's put into the back of the net by Callum Wilson. A little cushioned header by Hendrick at the front post. Callum Wilson on debut stabs it past Fabianski. It's not the most beautiful of team goals you'll ever get to see, but it's a goal for Callum Wilson on debut.
You mentioned in the first half, deflections on crosses make them awkward for defenders, and Kio does well, takes on Fornals, tries to get to the byline, puts a cross in. There's a horrible deflection, and it just makes it difficult for Ogbonna to get there. He can't get there. Hendricks nicks in front of him, just helps it on across goal, and there's Callum Wilson at the near post. Is it a high boot on Fabianski? It's potentially dangerous play, that.
Hendrick, going to be a debut goal for him. Finally lashes one into the top corner. 17 yards out, 2 debutant goals, 87 minute. Jeff Hendrick, who had a part in the first goal, received the ball just inside the West Ham penalty area and buried a right foot shot high into Fabianski's neck. You're listening to TalkSport's coverage. It's now finished of West Ham United against Newcastle United, which Newcastle United won by 2-0 here at London Stadium. I've been your host, Andrew Self, and alongside me is the former Tottenham, Southampton and Wimbledon defender, Chris Perry. Let's start. We'll have a look at both sides in a little minutiae if we can. Let's start with West Ham United. It was tough coming into the game. What do you feel for them now?
It's going to be very, very tough. They lacked any sort of flow to their football. Didn't really create a lot of good chances. Struggled in open play to cut Newcastle open. And your worry is the next 6 fixtures are probably the most difficult of the season. So points are going to be hard to come by for West Ham. I think David Moyes has really got his work cut out.
On the flip side, Steve Bruce came here. You fancied that he wanted to get a result here, knew he could get a result here. He was fairly attacking with his opening 11. What did you think of their performance?
I thought their performance was a great away performance. I think they played an attacking formation, and they got what they deserved for playing that formation. They had periods of the game where they controlled it. They looked the team that was always going to be more likely to score. A little bit of good fortune in the opening goal, but then after that, it was perfect. They sat back. They allowed West Ham onto them. They brought on the pace of Almiron to carry them up the pitch, and it ended up getting them the second and crucial goal.
Well, tomorrow, West Brom Leicester at 2 with Toby Gillis and David Connolly. At 4:30, Tottenham's Everton. Joe Shannon and Chris Perry. But from me, Andrew Self, and Chris Perry this evening, it's been a good night if you're a Magpies fan, as it's finished West Ham United 0, Newcastle United 2. And of course, you know by now, you have been listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Impress Lost Tribes people of the Andes by demonstrating the new updated TalkSport app. Listen live, listen again, and listen good, Buster. Download the app at TalkSport.com now. The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Hello, I'm Andy Goldstein, and of course you can hear me on the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy. We'll be taking all your calls, text, tweets and emails on all the big talking points from the weekend's football. And remember, we bring you the very first look at the next day's back page headlines every single night.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport. Catch up and listen up without having to cough up. It's free. Go to talksport.com and download the app today. Or don't. Your choice entirely.
Hello, Jim White here. Now, if you're wondering about all the background hullabaloo, I'm helping out as lifeguard at the brand new Talk Sport swimming pool. Golf! No running there, boy. But never mind that. Join me tomorrow morning from 10, when I'll be up to my neck in the warm, chlorinated waters of the day's biggest sports stories. Come plunge with me, Jim White, straight in at the deep end of the action.
Weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport.
Driving home with Darren Goff and Doug, a sporting legend and an angry sports journalist who'll pick a fight with anyone.
It really winds me up. Absolutely unbelievable.
To say I'm angry is an understatement.
Adrian Durham, what an absolute clown.
Dynamic, double-strength drive-time radio.
Shall I stay?
I don't like listening to him. I'll turn off.
Do you want me to stay?
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
He's an idiot.
Right, hands up, who wants me to stay?
Drive-time radio.
I don't have to.
Weekdays from 4, only on Talk Sport.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs on Sport. Talk Sport. It's the double O duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge over a shark-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical development. Join Paul Alligator Hopscotch Hawksby and Andy Oddjob Jacobs, flying the plane of sporting entertainment out of the horse's bum of conventional radio.
Have we got pussy galore on the show, Andy?
No, Paul, but we've got Todd Macklin's American Sports Roundup. Will that do?
Not really, Andy, no.
Hawksby and Jacobs, shaken but not stirred. Weekday afternoons from 1 on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
Confuse bookmakers, impress football agents and entertain the kids with the improved Talk Sport app. Totally fun, totally free, totally football. Download it now from talksport.com. Hey, kids, take your mobile and go over there and play or something. Don't press the button that says Tinder. Talk Sport.
Get it.